Attention creative civilians and servicemen alike. This is Sergeant Holly reporting live from the front lines of creativity on Poets at War. The hour is grave, but our spirits remain undaunted in our mission of art, theology, philosophy, fun. We begin, as always, with critical intelligence. Vlogs direct from our officers stationed at the very edge of the creative battlefield. Our first and only dispatch comes as a general's report from our distinguished Bard-in-Chief, Joshua David Ling. Following this vital intelligence, we commence our main operation, the Broodcast, an Inkling-style gathering reminiscent of the legendary councils of Lewis and Tolkien at the Eagle and Child. To enlist in our monthly Broodcast, final Friday of each month, and share your works in progress with your fellow creative commandos, report immediately to joshuadavidling.com/brood. Your creative service is required. And now, reports from the front on Poets at War. This is another Poets at War General Report. And here's your General, Joshua David Ling.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your General. I'm back with a little screen grab sort of a thing. We're going to be looking at my new website. So if you're listening, you might want to check this out. Whether you go and check it out yourself at joshuadavidling.com, or you go ahead and watch the video version on Spotify or YouTube. Here it is, or Rumble, wherever. You know where I'm at. We've got my new website, and I've got a lot of work still to do on it as I build content, but this is an example of what I've got going forward, and I'm really, truly very excited about it. I think you guys will be too. There's a lot of really cool stuff that I've been working on for quite a while, so let's get into it. So first of all, we have our main video player here. It's supposed to look like something like a TV. Obviously, you click play. Right now it's YouTube. Welcome. Right now it's YouTube embeds, but it is pretty simple overall. I'm gonna turn that way down and hit go. Nope, still too, nope, right, yeah, that's not too loud. So point being that you see how it works. Eventually we're going to move that to our own hosting, but that's way down in the future when we can actually afford it, Lord willing. So if you want to help out, please do. You can contact me by clicking up over here in the top right. You click that and it shows my email address and my phone number. You click either of those in a mobile phone and it will either text me or email me. And obviously what it does on desktop. Over here in this corner, we have a button that says take a break. And this is one of the coolest functions of this website so far. I think you guys are really going to like this. Watch this. So a nice little fire at the starry hearth. That is the name, by the way, of my hopeful eventual home project where I can entertain people. It may end up being something else, who knows, but that's a project and thing that I have vision for in the future. I created this nice little background. It scales extremely well with the window. We're looking at a 1x1 window right now for the sake of this video, but it scales extremely well. And the scaling on this website, working on mobile and video, or mobile and desktop, is nothing short of amazing. Anyway, you click that again. There's a volume slider to turn up or down the music, and you can just chill at the starry hearth. So we'll hit resume. And there's more to this in a second, but I'm going to get to that. We're going to check the rest of this out. So this playlist that loads when you first come to the website is sort of a featured playlist. It's what I have currently out that I'm most excited about, that I can share with you all. Eventually, I might have a welcome video on it. And down here, we have our channel selector. When you click these, watch what happens. You get a little clicky click. I may have to turn that down in post, we'll see. But you're choosing the different channels. And if you scroll down, there's a channel guide. It says navigate by clicking and tapping the knobs and then pressing the select button. If you look at the knobs, they have a nice little animation when you click them. This one goes back, this one goes forward, right? And then when you want to go to that to a channel, say we want to go to Ghost Trucker, that's number 3. We'll go ahead and hit select. And it will automatically load and play. So check that out. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. But yeah. So any which way, going further down to the channel guide itself, we have little links down here for YouTube. Let me show you these ones. This is a little bit easier to understand. YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, RSS, and Apple Podcasts. And some of these don't have those links yet because I'm still building it out. But as you can see, they're grayed out for the things that we don't have, right? Currently, there are 13 channels. I started with 13. There may be more or less in the future. It's a bit of a pain to add new ones because I have to update the indicator every time, but I may be able to figure that out in the future. Right now, I think it honestly works pretty great. That being said, there is one other cool feature. Oh, let me just say this right here is noting that this is an embed. It's the embed in this. I may have some channels soon that are a link, and it will show a badge that says link. So if you select it on the TV and click select, it'll take you to somewhere. But that's just an option for the future. I don't have any plans for that at the moment. We also have coming soon. I don't have any currently posted for officially anyway for Folk and Fairy Tales, Idiot's Guide to Illegal Tech Repair, Shape, and Worldwide Warrior, although that one just dropped today. I just haven't updated it yet. And so, yeah, each and every one of these eventually is going to have its own skin. I'm working on a function that will take, this little take a break function back here, right? And change it to skin with whatever channel you're currently on. So it will play a different song and have a different ambiance, right? So if we come back here, for example, Crack in the World, you'll be at like the Handsome Hog pub, right? With some Irish music playing. You go to Ghost Trucker, you're out in the desert. Some Spanish guitar, right? That sort of a thing. Different types of stuff with different feels. The TV will even change. This wood texture will change to something more appropriate. For example, Notes of Destiny is a fantasy world. It might have more of a stained glass feel to it. Or Poets at War might have, once again, I guess, stained glass or something. But the point is, Shape will be a kid's comic, right? They're each gonna be a different kind of art to the entire piece. And I'm really excited about that, having everything switch and change and fade in and out to have different feels and skins to the entire experience. The other thing that I'm going to be doing with that is actually I have one other feature. I'm probably only ever going to mention in this video, unless I'm mentioning it to you directly, because I want it to be a fun little surprise. You see in these four corners we have a screw. It's actually only supposed to be one of these that does it. Unfortunately, right now, all four of them do it. I need to fix that. But this one in the upper right here, if you click it, you can see it turns just a little bit. You might not be able to see that in video, but it does turn just a little bit to the left. And the idea is for behind the scenes and special hidden secret content, you'll be able to click that screw and it will reskin to go inside the TV, like with all the cathode ray tubes and all that other kind of stuff, and show a playlist of, secret videos and things. So this is my thing that I've been working on for a little while, and I'm very, very proud of it. If you ever want to look at the playlist, you can click up there. And yeah, I am absolutely thrilled with this so far. I'm going to continue adding features to it. It's a very fun website. I'm really, really tired of websites that are literally just like, here's the information, now go away. It's the design is very unhuman, right? So I am loving thinking back to things like homestarrunner.com and, some of the Flash sites that we visited as kids, some of us, and, thinking of ways that I can bring some of that back using coding and all that other sort of stuff. I was really pleased with the way that this all turned out, and really excited to work on it in the future. So, like I said, just wanted to share that. And yeah, if you're going on to the rest of a Poets at War episode, enjoy.
This is the Broodcast, Inkling-style Discord chat, last Friday of every month. To join, visit joshuadamianlink.com/brood. And now, Operation Broodcast on Poets at War.
We're lion, witch, and warded, yeah. Our imaginations running wild and free. In Middle Earth or Narnia, there's magic in what we believe.
But the first, 12 chapters is really going to be boiled down into 3. There's going to be 3 chapters, one to set up the king storyline, one to set up the antagonist storyline, and then cut to the main meat of the story, Katira, 3rd chapter, and we get to see that side. And it's going to be just those 3 main perspectives, so it's going to be a lot cleaner. I need to actually sit down and write it.
Nice. Yep, I got another wrestling one for tonight. Do you have anything, Brendan?
I have I have something that I could share. It's gonna I have something I could share. It's just an outline though. It's not
Yeah. That is
fine. If anything, I could, once I get back to my apartment, I might be able to see what Aaron's done and edited on the 1st chapter. As of late, I feel a lot better with my ability to read things in person. So good. I'll see if he's got anything good for me to share.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to like self-edit, if anything, I'll just not read and I'll explain where we're going with a thing. Sure. And yeah.
Let me see here. Hold on. Let me get this plugged in. I don't know how many we're gonna have tonight. The general feeling I was getting from most people is that they're pretty busy, and that's fine, not a problem. We'll do what we can, and if we end up talking other stuff, that's fine. But like I said, I don't. I think they're busy for at least part of it.
Okay.
I have not heard directly from anyone else. I think Abigail was like, wow, really? It's already Broodcast? Bunch of people are like, but yeah, no, it is. It's Broodcast time. So, yeah.
I think it's because it's the middle of the month.
Well, also, like, everyone...
like, towards the end.
Well, it's also anyone who's dealing with any kind of relationship to schools. The schools have gotten off, and it feels like, oh, well, we just got started. No, well, yeah, but that happened in the middle of, toward the end to middle of the month. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah. The level to which school schedules dictate the world is very strange to me.
Gotcha. Is the Broodcast a place where I could share my game ideas? I've had more time to like devote like games I'm making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. I might go ahead and do that tonight. Yeah. I might do that. We'll see. I'll have something. Either share the revised version of Chapter 1 of The Maiden's Child, or, yeah.
Jesse might be here. We'll see. Let me,
cool.
Let me drop something in both broods to both brood spots. Brendan, how's work schedule been for you? Busy or not so much?
His work schedule has been fine. I just like it's been it's nothing like traumatic is the wrong word, but you get the idea. Nothing
intense.
Nothing drastic. It's just, we're there's it's just another day,
Mm-hmm. Yep, I hear you.
I don't. The main issue is less the busyness of the schedule and more the just all of the stuff that they need us to do, and like the craziness of like that schedule. Like today they had me putting up Christmas wreaths and garlands because it is that time of year. But then I also had to get dragged to the front so much that I didn't really finish the project I was supposed to do to my satisfaction.
Looping.
I got stuff up, but it was a very rushed and very dirty job that I threw together at the last minute, which seems to be a running theme of mine. Oh, hi Casey.
She was waiting to see how long it would take.
I like the in sync flute as opposed to the.
Can you hear him?
No.
Here, I'll turn it on there
for
a sec.
Did
one
you
sec.
say it looked like I was bowing?
Just one sec. Let me TV speakers.
I
Go ahead, say what you were saying. Hello.
I was saying I really like the in sync flute as opposed to the alternating flute. The in sync flute is a nice touch.
Hazel learned what feral means today, and found it to be highly offensive because Joshua was referring to her as feral, and and so she got embarrassed.
Oof.
Joel just sent a story in, so we will have one from Joel as well. So that'll be good.
As is want to happen.
Good to have you here, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm on break from work. I'm not going to be on for long at all.
Yeah, I understand. But it's good to hear from you. Let's see here. Let me pull up that story. Let's see here. You want to know what was really funny? The main thing that offended Hazel about being called feral is I'm like, imagine some kind of crazy wolf girl with like a beard or something, and she's like dirty. She's like, a beard? Ah, bleh. Like that was the thing that was. I mentioned a whole bunch of other stuff, but that was the big thing that upset her.
Oh man,
Jesse, what's up, man?
How's it going, everyone?
Good to
The
have
man,
you.
the myth, the legend, the Jesse.
FYI, his video always looks really good, and I would like to know why.
The dude who has a hat.
She wants to know why your video looks good.
Like the video, like it's
Talk
like
loud.
only look like you're like in perfect focus, and then like the background is kind of blurry, and I wonder like how do you make that happen?
Is that just the camo feature?
That's just the camo feature. I
can do that.
I fine-tuned it a lot because that's my job to do that.
Yeah, I can do that here. Okay, see?
Yeah, I like that. That looks great.
It does, but it gets weird around the edges,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, I think I made it so that it wasn't so harsh on the background as
Right.
it is automatically.
Right.
hate to butt in, but while I have Aaron here because he can respond to me right now. Aaron, do you have anything you would like me to share with the Brood tonight during from the Maiden Child?
I shared it with I gave it to
Joshua?
Gave it to what?
Yeah, I gave it to Joshua.
Oh, okay. I have to find
You
it.
did? What did you share? Because I might be able to find it quicker. Aaron, just tell me.
It's the Maiden Child prologue. The last it's the last thing I sent in our messages with Joshua. My message with Joshua. Yeah, but it's part of this different draft document.
Okay. Is it in the Google Doc?
If you see there's two different ones now, it's the more recent one.
The shorter one?
Yeah, it's called The Cut.
Okay. I'll see if I can find it. Thanks, Aaron.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing it anywhere, so you'll probably have to find that. I don't know why.
That's what I'm on.
Okay. So far, we've got myself, Joel, possibly Aaron. You may be sharing something, Daniel, for you as well as Aaron. And Brendan will have something. Jesse, are you going to have something?
I mean, I have a charcoal drawing I did, but I don't really
I'm
think
down.
I have anything else.
That's cool. That's
That
still
sounds
cool.
great.
Like I said, I don't earlier. I don't know how many we're gonna end up having. Seemed like a lot of people were it just snuck up on them or whatever. Like it does some months. I think it's just like people are so used to school schedule type stuff. Like it's like, oh, a new time period in history began when school let out. Thus, it can't be the end of the month. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a weekend, right? A
What
very long one.
So-
it is for me. That's what it was for me. I was thinking it's middle of the month. It's the
Oracular
third week,
pig.
and it's like, wait, this year we're supposed to do more this month. Yes.
Oh,
I'm still not sure if it's a thing.
it's just technical difficulties. It's our version of technical difficulties. Oh boy. If you want to know for sure, you can go watch in context the episode we did on Princess Ilanwi from the Black Cauldron. I can give you an episode number now if you want. Yeah, that's the one to go watch. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Well, we can probably go ahead and get started, and people can trickle in as we go. Who wants to go first? Who can go first? Because I know a lot of people are still kind of busy doing things.
Not I. I'm trying to get
I mean,
myself.
I guess
What'd you say,
I
Brendan?
mean, I guess I could go.
Like, cool.
I guess I could go first. Are you? Am I jittering for all y'all?
Only slightly, but nothing bad. It's mostly
always
just the
bad.
video quality. The audio's pretty decent.
Let me quit Teams. Let me quit Steam. Let me quit every single background task possibly imaginable.
One thing real quick. Say hi. Go ahead. Talk. You just want to put your mouth on my mic. Now talk.
You know what? I'll do.
I don't know what you said either.
I'll eat that.
Something about number blocks. That's a show they've been watching that they like recently. Anyway. Much to my not exactly chagrin, because I'm totally psyched that my daughter is into math, unlike both her parents, but it's just weird to me. Seeing her like super jazzed about all these blocks of numbers, singing songs about how they fit into different shapes and can divide and multiply and all this other kind of stuff is like totally awesome to her. And I'm like, I do not get it at all. Oh boy.
All right.
So
Daniel, it's episode 130.
oh, there you go.
130, you
Look at
said?
that. Jesse found it.
Jesse,
What's that,
did you say
episode
130?
Yes. Is it Ilanwi or Alanwi?
Ilanwi.
I've never seen the Black Cauldron.
It's worth seeing. It's not anything special, but there's flickers of life,
And that's what matters.
right? Especially during the Dark Ages. The initial Dark Ages of Disney. Not the ones we're in currently, obviously. Ohana means foster care. Anyway.
Did I miss something?
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Okay. In the new
Anyway.
Stitch, they made Nani have this dream of becoming a marine biologist, and the big thing
boy.
at the end is that she goes and lives with David's grandmother, who's a close member of the family as a foster kid, so that Nani can go to the mainland to study marine biology, which she could totally do at the University of Hawaii, but doesn't
Which
for
has
some
the best
reason.
program for that.
Right. So
That's
none of it makes
awful
sense
world
whatsoever, and they completely gutted the entirety of the original film.
Hey,
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the original Stitch, but yeah.
I have.
Hello, I
Welcome,
have not
Ramsey.
yet to learn your name, Rams8. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm trying to. Sorry,
I've seen
it's been
you
a while.
around the Brood. What should I refer to you as?
Ramsade is fine.
Rams8's fine
I've
for
been
now.
called Ram. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm Joshua. I don't know if you've seen some of my stuff already. You found us through something. You said you just kind of were searching for Christian art groups, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I've been writing for a really long time, and I have a very Christian themed project I'm working on, and I'm actually writing the sequel to the first book. First book is about 122,000 words,
Yeah.
and
Nice.
I plan on publishing it as a serial, I guess on Royal
Okay.
seems to be the better bet. Hopefully that works out.
Very cool.
But yeah, so I was just going through and I was like, okay, let's see if because a lot of writer groups that I've been part of, if you even mention Christianity, they're like
Out.
hands off,
They say out.
automatically. Like
Yep.
they're just gone. And I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for. I'd like someone who doesn't get disgusted because I have conservative values.
Right.
But don't you know that's heresy nowadays?
Yeah.
Basically.
Burn them at the stake. And I'm like,
Well, you're very welcome here. We were about to be started here in a second. We kind of just see who wants to go next and share stuff. If you're interested in sharing, you can. Otherwise, you can just stick around and give feedback, whatnot. We do have some other artists besides just writers and things like that might show some things. Daniel, who was just here, should be coming back, I think, but he's dealing with technical stuff. So, I think Brendan, you wanted to get started with your thing, right?
Yeah, I was trying to make my video better for you all because I don't like it when I am disjointed and when the sound keeps speeding up to catch up to what the computer is saying.
Right.
So, especially since allegedly doing video is my job. So this is even, more of a,
Yes.
bad.
Yeah.
Oracular pig is our term for technical difficulties, if you didn't know. So there you are. Okay. So yeah, you can go ahead and get started. You have the floor.
Okay. The only thing I was really going to share was my entire outline for the entirety of the webcomic that I was mentioning. Because I actually have an end in mind, unlike other particular animated and or drawn visual storytelling mediums. Cough, cough, One Piece, cough, cough. Cough, cough, NCIS, cough, cough. Cough, cough, every serial show ever, cough, cough. I'm not better.
Slinging the hot takes this evening.
So just bang, bang, bang. This is going to be a continuation of the story, both of the previous broadcast and of the one before that. So I'm going to go through. I have them labeled as books. That's just I'm using manga terminology, where one book is roughly the equivalent of three-ish anime episodes. Things get a little weird when you do the conversions and stuff like that. But one book averages about 3 chapters. And one chapter of manga is about equivalent to a chapter in a novel. Maybe there's a little bit more content, but it gets really fuzzy. Okay, so just work with me here. So book 1 is called A Witch and a Mage. All right, and by the way, another thing, all titles, all of them, are not final. So don't at me. Book 1's called A Witch and a Mage. It starts from Simon's perspective. Alexandra literally crashes into his barn and meets Simon. Simon saves her from a mob who are trying to kill the witch, burn her. She floats like a duck. It's, all that fun stuff. Simon stands up to the prefect. That was the first story first part of this I ever read. So that's on here. Then they leave. I added that the prefect tries to get a gargoyle to hunt them down, and then Alexandra and Simon are able to fend it off. Meanwhile, the whole time, Simon and Alexandra are discussing magic. This is sort of I have a lot of world building I've got to do, and I feel like I have a lot of base knowledge I need to give. So this is going to cover some of that. Not all of it, mind you, because that would just be boring. But yeah, so Simon and Alexandra basically go off, and their bond is solidified through trials of fighting a dude and then fighting a dude's pet and then walking off together. It's work with me here. Eventually at book 2, they go to a mining village and meet 2 new characters, Ptolemy and Callan. You get some flashes of the town's history and learn that it was basically neglected by the Empire. There's rumors of dissent going around inside of it, but no one really wants to act or do anything. The bad guys show up. This is the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor shows up, having been called by the prefect to chase Simon down. And basically, the Inquisitor gave the prefect a stern talking to of, how did you let this happen? You're an idiot. Now we have a rampant witch, and your apprentice has wandered off with her. You failed horribly. Good day, sir, and all that jazz. The Inquisitor shows up, chases Simon and Alexandra. The town has no love for the Empire, so they are hindering the Inquisitor, and they end up free-falling down into a mine shaft similar to Studio Ghibli's Laputa, Castle in the Sky, if you've ever seen that. They wander through the mine shaft, and we reveal that Callan can hear nature. Callan can talk to animals and rocks and nature in general. Yeah, I know, loopy, huh? Inquisitor catches up to them. They have the fight. That was literally the last Broodcast. I read that one. Simon tricks him, gets him trapped inside of a thing, and they leave. And after they find their way out, Ptolemy and Callan, I'm trying to figure out why they journey on. I think their village might have gotten torched, and they say, well, we don't really have a home to go back to. We're both kind of orphans anyway. We might as well follow you till we reach the X city. I don't have a name for it yet. And so they go to the city. Book 3 is called Grinding Gears. They go to City of Scientific Advancement. It's not. There's all kinds of machinations with the Empire going on that they're pretending like there's scientific advancement, but there really isn't. Simon is exhausted. There's sort of a class war / idea war of magic versus technology. And here's when we meet our 5th and final of the main quintuplet, Leah. Leah finds out they're all mages and is frustrated at Callan because Leah does not trust mages. She does not trust magic users. Then the prefect shows up, tries to attack Simon, basically in broad daylight in the middle of the street. Simon can't really defend himself. He's too exhausted from all the stuff he's been having to do. And Ptolemy comes to the rescue and just straight up redirects the dude's magic, and no one knows why. And so that's fun. Leah basically says, all right, Callan and Ptolemy are my brothers, which is something I forgot to mention, but Callan and Ptolemy are like my adopted brothers, so I'm going to go with you because clearly you got them in danger and someone has to keep you guys out of trouble and someone has to like keep an eye on you wizards, so I better do it because she really does not trust magic. She's on the scientific side of things. From here, they travel to a place to meet a bound immortal. It's an immortal who knows everything, because when you're immortal, what else is there to do in the fantasy world aside from read books? It's very bored. He's very depressed. He just wants to die, but he can't die. It's very not nihilistic, but it's very sad.
That could be.
He actually gets really interested when he meets Ptolemy, though, because Ptolemy is what's called a conduit. Basically, he can absorb magic and then shoot it back out, but the detriment is that he can't speak. Ptolemy has been mute this whole time. Ptolemy cannot speak any words, but as long as he's paying attention, he's basically immune to magic because he just absorbs it into his body and then sends it back out.
Okay,
so that's
hold on a minute. You probably don't even know who I'm talking about, but did you get this idea from Black Bolt?
Black Bolt. No, I didn't get the idea from Black Bolt, no.
Oh,
but
okay.
I might know of what you speak if I had a picture, but we'll see. Yeah, and then there's a whole bunch of different arcs. So I have one arc where there's problems. There's the next arc is called Wrath of a Prince, where we find out that Callan is what's known as the son of Oberon, which is why he can talk to nature. Basically, Ptolemy gets hurt, Callan gets mad, finds a Leviathan and convinces it to attack the people who hurt his brother. He basically storms off on his own to do this whole thing. And Simon, Alexandra, Leah, and Ptolemy all have to go and basically talk him down from this rage fest. Then there's a couple of other things. I don't want to say filler content because I do think it's important, but I also want to be cognizant of people's time. I have Simon's failure arc. The reason why Simon cannot cast spells is because the reason why Simon cannot cast spells spontaneously is because he cannot do something that would invite a demon in. And when you cast spells spontaneously, you are opening your soul up to, you're opening up a chunk of your soul so that a demon can slip in. And he cannot do that.
That's an excellent limitation right there. I like that.
Yeah. They go to a lost city, and this is sort of a continuation where they find out that Simon is actually descended from ancient royalty who've made not a blood pact, but they basically swore an oath that no one in their line would do anything to consort with demons. And that's why Simon can't do it. There's ancient magic involved. We then have an arc where we meet Alexandra's mentor, find that he has succumbed to demons, and then that puts her on a downward spiral. But Callan then has his redemption arc where he uses his power to basically deal with some bad guys, and during this whole process he manages to he confesses his love to Alexandra, because that's the thing. Aw, how cute. I know I'm glossing over this real fast, but I'm just doing the whole thing.
Seeing the vision, though.
I put I have Leah's weakness. Leah's a person. She needs more growth. Stick it here. That's all I've got for that. Whoopsie. I forgot about that.
Hear that, Leah? You're not good.
And then I have add some. I say we need to demonstrate how the characters are helping the resistance. So I'm thinking thinking, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, there are a couple of episodes where, most episodes help shape the characters, but there's a bunch that's just showing them doing things to help people, right? So we're thinking something like that. And then there is eventually they go and they are with the Resistance. They join the Resistance. They prove themselves, despite the fact that the Resistance hates magic. They are all magic users, and the Resistance hates magic because magic has been the reigning evil force throughout that has been like crushing everyone who doesn't fit in with the Empire. And they basically launch an attack on the capital to overthrow the government. And over the course of that fight, lots of things happen. Among other things, Simon gets his arm cut off, and is like taken out of the fight. But eventually, they end up winning. And then they have and then there's an epilogue scene, which I have, where it's years later and they all meet back up again. Like it's like 10 years later after the battle, after they've overthrown the government and they've like reinstated a new system that, and now it's sort of like almost it's swung in the opposite direction where magic is all but outlawed basically, and is even outlawed in some cases. So even though Simon's allowed to live basically, because they don't think he can really, he helped them, they feel like obligated to do this. He's not allowed to teach magic. He's not allowed to go anywhere. So he just does his own little thing quietly off in a village somewhere with Leah. And you see Callan and Alexandra have gotten married and they have a kid, and all this stuff has been going on. So that's the overall sort of arc. I thought I had more. I'm sorry I don't, but it's been a very busy month, as Joshua was saying. I don't know if us talking about that will make it into the episode, but I've just been so busy. I haven't been able to really properly work on this.
I definitely see the vision,
character
though.
Arcs too.
Yeah, I definitely see the vision, though. You've got a very the outcasts make good sort of a thing going on that I'm quite fond of. You tend to do characters that have a major limitation rising above their limitations as a theme in a lot of your work, and I always appreciate the way you do it, because it's never made as like a token thing. It's never made as a, this is the entirety of the character. It's just that this is their reality. We're sucking it up and moving forward, right? Like, and you're very matter of fact about it. And that's just a theme I've noticed in your work that I enjoy. Other feedback from anybody?
Well, when it comes to world building, when you're thinking of names for like that city, think about like what the views of the culture are, because names of places can be extremely simplistic or historically based. Like there's a place in England called Tappenhow Hill, and the reason why it's called that is because of every conqueror of that asked the locals what they called it, and they called it Hill.
They called it Hill.
It's
like Torpenhower. Torpenhower Hill.
Yeah. His father's a professor of history. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've delved way deep into etymology, just because when I'm naming places, I try to really keep the culture in mind. And a lot of times, like the project I'm working on right now, with the way that they talk, they're colloquialisms. Instead of saying, the equivalent of go to hell or something along that, they say go to the rivers, because they're surrounded by canals and rivers where they are. Things like that, like little details that you can include, and it's just a brush. It will start to flow as you're doing it.
Yep. So other feedback, other thoughts? What did you say, Jesse?
I was gonna say that was very insightful. I was gonna piggyback off of that. This is something my brother has always been very good at narrative telling, but whenever it comes to naming schemes, it's not his strong suit. And so I've helped him out here and there with naming. One of the things is, like you said, be mindful of the culture. What do they do? Right? If it's a fishing town, are they going to have more guttural names than, say, the upper class social elite in the capital city? Right? They're going to be different. You don't have to make an entire language because that's going to be a pain in the butt. Although maybe you want to. I would encourage that. But
Brendan,
as far I
was going to say Brendan would do that. If anybody in this room would do that, it would be Brendan.
It would take him 40 years, and he would be the next Tolkien. But it would take him 40 years.
So I may or may not have already come up with rules for the magic, including how the language works.
So there you go.
See?
There you go.
So with those rules in mind,
I've never been able to do magic really. Like I know like having limitations and having kind of sort of a bubble that the magic happens in, so that with components and stuff, like I can't even play magic users in D&D. It just is beyond me. I kind of avoid it.
I don't really go into the magic systems myself. My magic system is it's based on, this is going to sound stupid. It's based on Masters of the Universe and Conan the Barbarian.
Not stupid at all. It's a function. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh boy.
The thing about magic that like.
Hello, nice stick there.
So we
he said he has the power.
We can't. I don't want to get too deep into it, but when it comes to magic, like I don't want to make magic just another science. But if magic is going to be capable of a force for good, then it needs to have been something that was made by God.
Yeah.
And I am a firm believer, just from my own life and my own experience, that God put magical force in the world.
Right.
It's not magic using the word as it's traditionally and historically used
in Western
culture.
It's
like, but it's a but as a force, it is net neutral. Like the thing that it's like the kinetic force or the force of gravity or something like that. It is a thing that enacts, and it's inherently spiritual. So that's my baseline from what I'm going. And then from there, I'm just, all right, let's make rules for how it's tapped into. Like, how do you evoke that thing? And I talked about this on a previous broadcast for this story. I have a couple of things, like the world likes shapes. It likes circles. So you draw a magic circle, and that helps you channel the energy naturally. However, demons let you channel it unnaturally. I forgot what the word was, but the word is actually artificial. They let you artificially channel the energy, and that is what opens you up to demonic attack. And demonic attack isn't like what Daniel experiences with his weird night terrors, or what someone else might experience with the Mothman, or whatever haunted cosmos stuff we want to shove in here.
Right.
It happens with, it instead comes from the form of slow, suggestive taking over and eventually leading to possession.
Right.
So.
All right. We're probably going to move on to the next one. Who wants to go next? For people who are here, Ian does. Anyone else? Ian.
That's good. I can go after Ian.
Ramsay, are you wanting to go tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can go after him.
Before Ian freaks out, Ian, this is Ramsay. He is new. He found us by Googling somehow. I don't know how it works.
Googling?
Don't bark at him too loud. Ian's our watchdog. Anyway, go ahead, Ian.
If you do start barking, please let me know so I can turn my hearing aids off.
Burn him with a water bottle. Okay.
Anyway,
I'm the big dog at the gate that keeps all the stupid people out. So
there you go.
He's not a very good
yes,
big dog.
we'll give the floor to Ian, and then Ramsade, if you want to go after him, that's probably going to be your slot if you're good with that. All right. Yep. Go ahead, Ian. You got the floor.
I'm good with them.
All right. So just to fill people in, I'm writing my my next novella, Heart of the Stars, which is about this kid who is gifted a meteorite fragment by his parents. His dad's an astronomer, so he, of course, would have things like that. He's gifted a meteorite fragment by his parents, and this fragment starts glowing after a solar eclipse. And no one seems to know why. And anyway, after that, these giant alien spiders start invading his town. He lives in a little town in Vermont. These giant spiders start invading his town and spreading webs and eating people and things like that. He meets a wizard who lives in a van down by the river, and the wizard, Azariah, tells him that his meteorite is very special. It's part of a cosmic machine that actually makes stars. Now, the spiders are based kind of on, not Shelob, what's the other one? Ungoliant. Who, they just hate light. They can't stand it. They don't want to be around it. Starlight especially, they don't want there to be any stars whatsoever. So, the wizards rebuilding the star engine would be really catastrophic for the spiders. So they're looking for this meteorite fragment so that they can destroy it. And the little boy, Eddie, keeps getting in their way. Now, the fragment has been stolen by Eddie's bully, whose name is Thorwald, and they're trying to steal it back. Eddie is in the back of Thorwald's trailer, looking for the meteorite fragment. Meanwhile, his brother's friend, or his friend of a friend named Jill, is distracting Thorwald. So this is where we pick up the story. This is chapter 9. Releasing Jill from his repulsive embrace, Thorwald took a rifle off the wall and ran outside to see what all the commotion was. When he saw the 8-legged hulk atop his home, he uttered a phrase which, if I were to repeat it here, it is doubtful your parents would allow you to read this book. The creature pounced, impaling itself on Eddie's blade. Eddie has a sword, by the way. Another emerged from the forested area around them. Thorwald, without another thought, took aim and fired a bullet into one of its 8 eyes. This only served to anger the monster. It lunged at Thorwald with surprising quickness, but Eddie, with a leap such as he had never known possible, landed on the back of the creature, thrusting through its thick body with his sword. It died flailing. Thorwald stood trembling there, mere inches from the arachnoid menace. He looked with wonder, and a bit of fear, at the 11-year-old boy with the sword he used to pick on. He wondered if he had made a mistake in picking on him. "Look out!" Thorwald shouted as another spider emerged from the darkness. He fired a shot into it to no avail. Bucky, leaping to his friend's defense, split the monster right down the middle. More spiders crowded the area, their creeping menace filling the companions with dread. All around them, every electric light came to life, shining with new brightness. "Return to the darkness!" cried a familiar voice. There stood Azariah, his staff raised heavenward. The spiders cowered before the wizard, shielding their eyes with their forelimbs. "Guys, I got the rock, let's go!" shouted Jill. At once the boys, girls, the wizard, and the cat all raced to the wizard's van. "Wait!" cried Thorwald. "Don't leave me here!" "In your dreams, Thorwald," shouted Eddie. "But those things are out there, protested the bully. Eddie, said Bucky, he's just as scared as we are. But he's Thorwald, insisted Eddie. Yeah, Thorwald, said Bucky. So what? He's just a kid, like us. So he bullied us. That doesn't mean he deserves to die. Edmund, it is better to show mercy than vengeance, said Azariah. Furthermore, it's my van, and I decide who's allowed to ride. Fine, said Bucky. Come on in, Thorwald. Can I bring my dog? He asked. Sure, said Eddie. Soon the boy and his dog were aboard the van, headed out of the trailer park. Adolf shook like a leaf. Adolf is the dog, by the way. Would anyone like to explain to me what just happened? Asked Thorwald. It's a long story, said Azariah. But you all deserve to know. My brethren and I, we are the Star Builders. We were given intellect and corporeal form by the Everwise, and tasked with building and organizing the stars. What is the Everwise? Asked Eddie. It is not a what, it is a he, responded Azariah. He is... well, he is. A merry light entered Azariah's eyes when he spoke of the Everwise, as though he were speaking of something too wonderful to fully express in words. Anyhow, continued Azariah, we built a machine known as the Star Engine, a brilliant, powerful device. With it we built all the stars you see now. That's impossible, said Eddie. Why not? Said Azariah. Your own scientists have built machines nearly as complex and powerful. Your Large Hadron Collider, for example. As I was saying, the arachnoids did not like this one bit. They were here from the beginning, crawling in darkness, and they hated the light. So they went into a campaign of extermination, killing every star they came upon. There was a war. It lasted millennia. The spiders finally found out about the Star Engine and tried to destroy it, but we stopped them. How? Asked Bucky. We broke it into pieces, spreading fragments of it throughout the universe, answered Azariah. The genius of the Star Engine is that it can be completely reconstituted from a single piece. One of these pieces, by some chance, ended up in Dr. Small's possession, and now it is Eddie's. Thorwald muttered a curse. Language, said Eddie. That's crazy, said Thorwald. If I hadn't seen those bugs from hell, I probably wouldn't believe it. And you'll see greater and more terrible things than that, Azariah replied. Suddenly the van came to a halt. They were enveloped in black webs. Oh, dash it, said Azariah. They've caught up to us. Eddie began to draw his sword from its sheath, as they heard the telltale scratchings of creatures on the sides of the van. The long, hairy, spindle legs of the monster scraped past the windows next to Eddie. He shut his eyes as the creature's monstrous head looked in at him with murderous intent. Fred, it's time, said the wizard to the cat. By the way, the cat is sentient, and it used to belong to Eddie, but, well, cats don't really belong to anyone. Fred mewed in affirmation as Azariah pressed some switches on the console of the van. Suddenly, the whole dashboard turned around. The controls were entirely different, like nothing Eddie or Bucky had ever seen. There was a separate set of controls for the passenger's side. Eddie noted with astonishment that they were all cat-sized. Fred sat up on his haunches, taking the controls in hand. A tiny helmet emerged from the dashboard, which was then placed on the cat's head. Take us out of here, said Azariah. After pulling a few switches and pressing some buttons, all passengers felt a sudden change. The van was no longer stationary. Eddie's heart leapt into his throat. Looking outside, he watched the landscape fade away. They were flying. Faster and faster they sped, away from the monsters, away from Vermont, away from the earth. What is going on? Asked Anna, Anna, by the way, is Bucky's older sister, or older cousin, I should say. We're leaving, said Azariah. But why is Fred driving? Asked Eddie. And how is he driving? Freddy Boy is one of the finest star pilots I have ever known, said Azariah, and I've had a lot of them. But he's a cat, Eddie insisted. Exactly, said Azariah. We found that they were uniquely suited to hyperspeed flight a few thousand years ago, particularly the orange and black ones. Fred comes from a long line of great star pilots. Giant spiders, space wizards, cats can fly, muttered Jill. This has got to be some kind of crazy dream. I'm gonna hurl, said Thorwald. Please avoid doing so on the seats, said Azariah. Take us back now, ordered Anna. I'm afraid I can't do that, ma'am, said Azariah. Why not? Asked Anna. We're already on our way to our destination, replied the wizard. And where would that be? Anna inquired. A planet in the constellation Taurus, said Azariah. My homeworld, if you could call it that. What about my parents? Asked Eddie. They'll be all right, said Azariah. The important thing is that we get that fragment back to my world so we can rebuild the star engine. Mom's going to kill me if I don't get back, lamented Jill. How long is this trip going to take? Asked Anna. A few days, I should think, said Azariah, unless something dreadful should happen. I don't like the sound of that, said Jill. Hey, it's all good, said Thorwald. Just enjoy the ride. What's the worst that could happen? We die, said Jill. Then it won't be a problem anymore, said Thorwald with a shrug. You don't have Asian parents, Jill responded. If I'm gone too long, they'll kill me when I come home. My old man doesn't know where I am and couldn't care less, said Thorwald. So you just do whatever you want? Asked Eddie. Yep, said Thorwald with a nod. Nobody knows, nobody cares. Eddie had a moment of sympathy for Thorwald, for the first time he had ever done so. He simply didn't know right from wrong because his father had never bothered with him. No wonder he was the terror of the neighborhood. He simply didn't know any better. That's what a lot of people were like. Just broken and confused, not knowing right from wrong. That didn't excuse the actions of some people, but it did explain them. Ready, Freddy? Asked Azariah. The cat mewed in the affirmative before pressing some switches on the dashboard. There was a sudden change in velocity. A large white disk came into view. They were approaching the moon. What are we doing? Asked Eddie. We are about to take this bus into hyperspeed, replied the wizard. We have to catapult off the moon's gravity well. Best be prepared for the jump. I'm definitely going to hurl, said Thorwald. Faster they sped around the surface of the great sphere, rocks and craters passing by beneath them with greater speed. Eddie was starting to become dizzy. The lad was unused to flying. He had been on a plane exactly one time and felt a bit queasy on the Ferris wheel at the state fair. Moments later, they whipped around the great satellite and sped off toward the stars. Suddenly, what looked like a tunnel opened up before them. Stars and planets rushed past like driving through the snow on a winter's night. Bucky's heart raced with excitement. This was exactly what he pictured hyperspeed travel would be like. Yow! Cried Azariah as they made the jump to hyperspeed. Jill screamed. Thorwald vomited. Anna grit her teeth, squeezing Bucky's wrist tighter and tighter, shutting her eyes to the stars speeding by. Bucky shouted with excitement. Eddie couldn't believe what was happening. Here they were in an old beat-up hippie van traveling faster than light. None of it was possible. But many impossible things had occurred over the past several days. Why not space hippies and flying vans? Anna, I can't feel my hand, said Bucky. Anna finally released her grip, panting. I really regret eating all those pizza puffs, said Thorwald. I haven't read this in a while, so some of this stuff I actually forgot about. I don't doubt it, said Azariah with a laugh. How much longer till we get there? Asked Jill. Not long now, said Azariah. A few hours, I believe. Fred mewed. 5 to be precise, added Azariah. I do wish you wouldn't correct me in front of the children. You really do understand every word he says, said Azariah. Oh, yes, said Eddie. Oh, yes, said Azariah. I am fluent in over 70 forms of communication. Cats are quite intelligent. They can say more in one meow than most people can say in 5 sentences. Very efficient. Which is why we gave them to the Egyptians. Poor fools forgot what they were for and started worshipping them as gods. Wait, you knew the ancient Egyptians? Asked Eddie. Knew them? Of course I knew them, said Azariah. We helped them build those pyramids. It was about then that the stars rushing past slowed to a standstill. A strange rattling noise emanated from the vehicle's engines. Oh, drat, said Azariah. What's going on? Asked Jill. Engine trouble, said Azariah. Fred made several cooing noises. Yes, I changed the converters, protested Azariah. Fred mewed in reply. Oh, sometime around 1977, said the wizard. The cat let out a low groan. Yes, you're right. They should probably have been changed more often than that. What is happening? Implored Jill. We seem to have slowed progress, the wizard replied. The hyperspeed drive is malfunctioning. How long is it going to take us to get there now? Asked Anna. Fred mewed. Several decades, said Azariah, half under his breath. Anna uttered an expletive. Language, said Eddie. He says that a lot. I'm sorry, but, Anna began, her voice breaking into a sob, I have got to get home. And we will, said Azariah. I am broadcasting a distress signal now. Help should be arriving any time. Anna began to sob uncontrollably. Anna, get a hold of yourself, said Jill. Now is not the time for hysterics. We have to keep it together. Anna quieted herself. Tears continued to flow, but she kept her sobbing to a minimum. Jill was right. This wasn't the time to cry. Now she could only wait patiently and pray that help arrive soon. You got a toilet on this thing? Asked Thorwald. In the back, behind the steel door, said Azariah. Thorwald unbuckled his seat and approached the area indicated by the wizard. Then the ship came to a sudden halt. The windows became enveloped in a shroud of blackness. Oh dear, said Azariah. A web. And that is the end of chapter 9.
Well done, sir. Well done.
That was a trip.
Yeah, a trip and a half.
I have one point I would like to make.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that when you talk about Fred taking the controls in hand, you should change it to taking the controls in paw.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is
I like that.
What if he uses
only
his
thing.
like mouth or tail too?
Nope. Pause. Pause.
Nope.
It's funny. Take
Paws
control
are
in paw.
hilarious. Yes.
Yeah, cats don't have tails flexible enough to do that, and I really can't
Prehensile.
imagine him controlling it with his mouth. But he's a 6-toed cat, so he can grip things better.
Okay.
Oh, he's polydactyl. Nice.
Yeah.
That's
All the
cool.
I
cat
had a
pilots are-
polydactyl cat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. His
All-
name was
all the
Sasquatch
cat-
because he had big feet.
Nice.
That's brilliant. I love that.
That's great. That's fantastic. I had a couple things. With there's a spot right near where he stabs the spider when he jumps to stab the spider. It's just clumsy language you can clean up, but it's just with the sword, and then I would do parentheses who he used to pick on. Right, there's a weird spot where it talks about who he used to pick on, and one easy way to fix it is with a parentheses with the sword, who he used to pick on in parentheses.
There-
Then, yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
Around the same time, I don't know if you're picking up on the same thing, but I heard where you repeated yourself a couple of times. Like there were some redundancies in the language you used. It was like when you were talking about Thorwald, or Thorwald. Gotcha. Thorwald used to bully Eddie, and then you said that like twice in the same
Yeah, I think that was
sentence.
the same spot. Yeah.
Okay.
Then so one little addition that would make it, please try not to throw up on the seats or whatever you said, and then add in, they take forever to clean. Right? Just a fun little thing. Thorwald's chill is explained but through the whole thing, but it doesn't fully feel satisfying to me, and I'm not 100% sure why. I don't really have a fix for that, but I think just some kind of little thinking throwaway from Eddie about he seems remarkably chill, and then you go into the reasons why, right? Like just something like that. I got a reference for you because I know you're throwing a million references in here. I caught the 70 forms of communication or whatever you did there. Like that's C-3PO. That's so good. Here's another one for you.
Okay.
Here's another one for you. Seatbelts, everyone. I knew I should have stayed home today. Magic school bus, right? There you go.
Oh,
That
boom!
one needs to happen.
That would have been perfect.
I was wondering when the Magic School Bus reference was going to come. I was waiting for it.
I was thinking that as I was listening, this had the same cadence to it as the one client that one day walked behind me and started singing their own original version of the Little Einstein
theme song.
Yeah, and she sang we're flying on our favorite chicken strip instead of rocket ship. We're on our favorite chicken strip flying through the sky. We're all gonna die.
Yep. Okay, and then
and it very much had the same cadence. Magic school bus though. Yes.
Yeah. There's one thing. Azariah, they say, how long is this gonna take? And that's sort of broad, and he says a couple of days. Later on, they ask if we're almost there. He says, well, yeah, in just a few minutes. I understand he's talking about two different time frames, but that's not fully clear. And it was just a little bit like I had to jump through a few hoops to get that clear. And then the last thing was just a little thing you could throw in there where he says 1977. Last time he replaced that thing, you could be like Alpha Apple 23, or counts on his fingers, 1977 by Earth Reckoning.
Nice.
Right.
That's good, actually. I did come up with my own like reckoning of time based on the orbit of this one planet that orbits around the same star as a like interplanetary empire that Azariah is familiar with.
Right.
You'll find out later in the book that Azariah is this sort of, on other planets, he's like a legend. They speak his name in hushed tones, like almost like they're afraid of him. Because he's this great warrior.
And on Earth, he's a hobo.
Yeah. On Earth, he's a warrior.
It's like Gandalf meets the Doctor from Doctor Who.
Yeah, that is literally who he's based on, is Doctor Who and Gandalf.
And Christopher Lloyd. Doc Brown. I'm getting Doc Brown vibes.
Yes.
Any other thoughts from anybody before we move to Rams 8? You got some, Jesse?
A couple things. Yeah, I had a couple things regarding the chapter, and then a couple things just regarding the whole narrative and book and whatnot. You can't just say that he's the best star pilot he's seen. That was so good.
Wait,
I couldn't even. Whenever
He's like,
they were
how dare
talking
you
about
break me like that?
Freddie takes them. Yeah, he takes the mini controls and he says, Azariah says he's one of the best star pilots I know.
Oh, about the cat.
Yeah, about
Yeah,
Fred,
yeah.
Oh,
I was
okay,
like,
yeah.
there's no way.
The little mini helmet. It's so cute.
Oh my goodness, that was actually a really good one too.
I'm gonna have to re-listen to this one because I actually caught more of this episode than I have. I found some AV8 tactics that work for me.
Good, good.
But yeah,
I think Jesse was finishing.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead, Jesse.
I had a question about the is it a bus or a van?
It's a Volkswagen minibus.
Gotcha. Okay, that was just an aside.
Nice.
All
It's
right.
a
So the previous
spaceship.
it's a space.
Chicken strip.
Why are we asking?
Well, I'm asking what it's disguised as.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So Thorwall in the previous chapter, Jill was distracting him, right? But in this chapter, it's like they completely forgot about that and they act like it never happened. I'm sure Jill would act like it would never happen, right? But Thorwall, it doesn't seem consistent with his character for him to just not look at her with starry eyes anymore. That would be like a source of tension for the rest of the novel, where she's trying to awkwardly avoid him and act like it didn't happen. And he's like, "Goddess,
I shall save you, princess, upon this journey into the stars."
Yes, exactly. And he goes out of his way to try to like save her or whatever, like that. But immediately here, it's like they both are acting like it doesn't happen. Obviously, she would rather forget about the whole ordeal, but on the other hand, Thorwall is never gonna forget it for the rest of his life.
No, that's the thing. I'm definitely gonna edit that chapter because I think it gets a little bit too steamy. Like,
yeah, we talked about that.
Definitely in a direction that I don't like. So, but yeah, no, you're right. I had a discussion between the two of them where they basically talked it out, and he figured out that she was definitely not interested in him, and for some reason I cut that conversation, and I don't remember why.
I think it's best if you I would say it's best if you cut it out because it makes it more compelling as time goes on, where the audience is completely aware of Jill's intentions, but Thorwall isn't.
That would actually make it funnier. You're right.
Yep.
So it creates if you want to be like, this is how healthy relationships should be, and people talk their feelings out. Sure, you can go that direction. But if you're looking for a lot of fun,
well, you could also even play with the nobility that can come from a guy just because he likes a girl, even if he's completely unable to ever win her. Right? Like, there's stuff that you can play with that could be funny.
Oh,
you know,
sure.
Like Gimli and Galadriel.
Well,
like you root for him, but he keeps failing. He keeps messing up. Yeah.
Yep.
Later on in the book, they meet this space pirate, basically, who's heavily based on Malcolm Reynolds, and you will see that. And like maybe he gives Thorwald some tips on how to actually woo a woman
to be masculine.
That could turn out to be. That would be very.
I love it. That would be great.
So first of all, you need to stop smelling like a pigsty. you know, something like that.
It's okay to have a manly musk. It's not okay to smell like a garbage pail. Anyway.
Yeah. Exactly.
Amen.
Yep.
I had one about kind of wraps the other stuff that some people were already saying. It's about the repetition of words, the same words. And I don't think that's just this chapter. I think that just happens throughout the book. And that happens like first time around. You have to edit that out. That comes out more on the back end. But the biggest one that I would actually consider a problem is how do you describe the spiders in more creative ways? Because saying spider or eight-legged freak, that's great, but that's only two names. You need to have a whole web of names to be able to pull from interchangeably. So that way the audience doesn't feel like you're just saying
whole web of names.
Yeah, so the audience doesn't feel like you're just saying spider over and over and over again. Arachnoid, that works. Arachnid. Abomination, Eight-Legged Freak, stuff like that. That'd just be something to play over your head over and over again. Maybe you look
for
at
sure.
specific spider species names or spider. Yeah.
Next draft, I'm going completely Lovecraftian with the spiders. It's going to be
Fun.
epic.
Nice.
Yes, I was gonna ask, are they supposed to be intelligent?
They're intelligent in a way, in the way that what do I want to say? They're intelligent, but in sort of not in a human manner of intelligence.
If I
gotcha.
may, if their
They're just-
primary dealings with the stars, why would they even care to commune with humans? So it's not going to be the same kind of intelligence.
Yeah, they don't care about humans. Humans to them are just food.
Yeah.
Gotcha. If I may add, if you want to ramp up that psychological kind of horror, maybe don't really play up that intelligence early on until you've had time to kind of get used to, okay, these seem like they're just mindless mooks until you're able to give an opportunity where it's like, no, these are hunting you. These are actively, like, here's some baseline intelligence and there's a tactic that they're using that the characters didn't see that Azariah has to unveil to them.
It reminds me of like the.
Go ahead, Ramsey.
Go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, like, that reminds me of this one line in the new Avatar movie where she's like, why do we keep getting captured? The characters being like, how are they always showing up?
Yeah. Gotcha.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that too. Yeah, they have a hive mind. There are no individual spiders. There's just the consciousness. You know,
Gotcha.
they don't have any individuality whatsoever. They just have it's a complete collective intelligence.
All right. Thank you, Ian. We appreciate that. Ramsey, are you ready to read what you're going to read for us tonight?
Yeah, I guess I'll do.
I'm gonna have to call it a night. I'm sorry to leave
No, it's
so
cool.
soon.
It's
but
cool. I know you have to
I've got
sometimes.
to do.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right.
Make sure you listen to the
next time I
episode.
can stay longer. Oh, for sure. All right.
All right, man.
Oh, good night, folks.
Bye.
All right.
He never gets to hear my stuff. It's all good.
Well, as long as he listens to the
I'll go
episode,
first
he
next
will.
time.
But Ramsey, when you're ready, you've got the floor.
Okay. So it's kind of like easiest way to put it is it's kind of rated PG-13.
Sure.
So
Not a problem.
If I overstep something, just
sure.
Because I wrote it for adults.
Yeah, no problem.
So the intro is an excerpt from essentially gives kind of the backdrop and semi explains that there's a third testament by this point, so it's like a post-apocalyptic.
Okay, what roughly what years are we talking about?
I say like 500 years or so after a nuclear holocaust.
So nuclear holocaust would be when, roughly? Just roughly. I don't need like specific, but
roughly in the next like 20, 30 years or something along those lines.
Okay,
I don't really
got it.
define it.
Okay, yeah. That's not a problem. I was just guesstimating so I can think about it. But yeah, go ahead.
And Satan did boast at what man had done by their own will. The destruction wrought upon the earth echoed into the heavens and shook his gates. A deep darkness engulfed the earth, and the Lord wept at the destruction his creation had wrought. The Lord listened for the prayers and pleas of his creations, and heard only anger and gnashing of teeth. Satan was emboldened by the breach made by mankind into his realms, and said unto the Lord, See thy creation as it truly is, for thine own creation has forsaken thee. My legions shall destroy all who remain, and I shall rise in spite of thee, for man has spoken thusly. From the darkness of the earth, a single man did speak toward the heavens. Thine grace has been denied by us, O Lord, the man said. We have defied you in our ignorance. Thy truth was revealed, and we laughed in the presence of thine holy light. Thy love was given to us, and we spurned it, O Lord. How could we ever be forgiven for unleashing the legions of hell upon ourselves? How can we cast our enemy back into whence he came without thine Holy Spirit? We are undeserving of mercy, and I shall not ask for it. We are undeserving of forgiveness, and I shall not look for it. For we have been judged by our own works and faced the demons in their true forms, unleashed by our hubris. By thy will, Lord of all, holiest of holy, I shall never sway in my faith. In thy name alone I shall battle the enemy this day, until my soul is torn from my flesh, and I stand before thy judgment. The Lord did see the man, and said unto him, Thy God has heard thy pleas and thine convictions. Ye submit to thy God's will, and admit thine sins, and Jehovah thy God did listen. Ye may not ask for mercy, but it is given. Ye may not ask for forgiveness, but it is given. For thine power has been heard this day. Thine prayer has been heard this day. As thou have cast away the worldly life that has destroyed much of what thy God made, so shall ye cast away thine name and call thyself Paladin. Speak thy name and gather thine arms, for ye shall be Jehovah thy God's first of many to wash away the darkness wrought by man's sins. And the man did say his name and took up his sword and shield, and the Lord Almighty parted the darkness and gave the Holy Spirit unto the man. Go forth, Paladin, thus saith the Lord. Gather all who will rise to thy side with the light of thy God. Witness the love born unto thee to those who will listen. Heal those who plead for thy God's mercy, and cleanse the realms of men of thine enemies' legions. Wherefore ye shall go. Live by the word, and thy God shall never abandon thee. And that's First Paladin, chapter 3, 1 through 27. And
Okay.
then I have the title Paladin. Chapter 1. Have you seen him? Ari half turned from the large kettle, the long-handled ladle in one hand and the first of her shallow bowls in the other. She filled the shallow bowl with the tip of the ladle and held it out for Maud with a slight nod. Her daughter's hands were always shaking. She did her best not to make herself conscious of it, but was hard-pressed not to eye how much she would spill in the few steps to the table. I hope he's no ugly. Maud set the bowl in front of her father. Or married. Ari shook her head and frowned at Maud, who only shrugged. She held out the bowl for her son, Alden, who sat across the table from Baylor. The light of the hearth was enough for her to see Baylor's glare at their daughter. He still scoffed at the idea of his darling girl being swept off by a husband. No man was good enough for her, not even one of the gods themselves. And she was pretty enough to catch their eyes, let alone the village boys, who have vied for her affections long before she had grown hips in her swindling smile. They weren't a wealthy family, by any means, but they had an acre of wheat fields that had been worked by her husband's family for 8 generations. Their home was not a wattle and daub hut, but stone walled and wood roof. Not to mention how their portions of the field's profits had built quite the dowry for their daughter. It was sometimes difficult to get around their supper table in front of the hearth because of how it filled between the walls of the kitchen. The boys had their own bed, Maud her own on the loft above the door with her own window, and they had their own room, albeit only large enough for the straw bed and a small table Baylor made while she was pregnant with Maud. But it was more than most in the village. Only the Greshams and foreigners had so similar homes. They were the envy of all with how well she tended her own small garden and the wildflowers she cultivated in it would bloom bright with color every spring. Her only regret was how particular Maud had become in who she was willing to marry. She was one of 6 eligible girls to the 5 boys and seemed intent on marrying none of them. With Alden's growing appetite, she knew it wouldn't be long before Baylor would be forced to arrange a marriage, and only the widowers and men-at-arms were eager for that. No, not yet. Baylor leaned his head over the bowl to scoop the stew. His beard grew dark around his neck and over his smooth chin, but had grayed as it neared his eyes and ears. His thick red hair was knotted over the bald spot on the back of his head, and he had brows like bushy red caterpillars, which she enjoyed tracing with her fingers in the most intimate of moments. and those laugh lines made her swoon when they showed the few times he would smile. His fingers, still black from the dirt of hard labor in the fields, did make her want to thwack him, but it was only another thing about him she cherished. It was near harvest, and Ari knew how taxing that was on a man's body. Tilling was hard work. She never begrudged the extra needs for her husband and had during the tilling season. She placed a pot of water on a hook over the hearth for after supper for his feet and hands. Not only his hands, but her own, for when she finished massaging his shoulders before bed, and her knees. There was more to caring for her husband than merely his eggs. Sama said as he Sama said he is an old and ugly Teklar merchant. Smelled of piss and elderberries, Alden giggled. Ari was quick to whack his head with the ladle before setting her own bowl at her seat beside Baylor. Alden rubbed his head through the mat of hair he refused to cut. It made him look like a scarecrow, in her opinion, tangles of blonde like her locks over bushy red brows like Baylor's. Unlike her dark-haired and pale-skinned Maud, who looked like neither of them but for her father's heart-shaped face and Ari's figure, the boy was a perfect combination of both parents. Sam is a damn fool, and you needn't bother listening to the thing he says. None know because none have seen a torch lit at Kelder's farm since winter, Baylor said between slurps of broth from his wind spoon. To Ari, he smiled like a boy tasting berries for the first time. This is quite good. Is it the rabbit, or do I taste parsley, love? Pear chunks, parsley, and a dash of basil. Coraline gave me some pears for helping her with the mending of Balian's trousers. How she lives all those years without knowing how to stitch still confuses me. Ari took her seat with an eye at Maud to finish filling their cups with ale and join them. Balian's a damn fool, too, marrying that harlot. Baylor sipped even louder this time, followed by Alden, who seemed intent on outdoing him. Baylor, Ari scoffed. Not at the table. True or no, we do not speak ill of family. You treat her as such, I will not. The boy is as dark of hair as a bear and nearly as long nose. Baylor shot her a defiant eye. Alden had to duck his head to not spit his stew over the table from his muffled laughter. Either way, if one bit of my fields is trampled, I'll have his. Baylor swallowed the rest when Ari narrowed her eyes at him. He better be as good a neighbor as Kelger was, all I say. If not, I'm sure Lord Taggart will learn him without me having to rap knuckles. Ari straightened proudly for fulfilling yet another wife's duty of dampening her husband's temper. Keep your men in line, her mother would say, else they get ideas of worth they know be high enough for. Once everyone had finished their supper, Ari directed Maud on wiping the bowls and spoons while she filled the white bucket with warm water to soak Baylor's feet in. She rubbed Maud's back with her spare hand. I like the ale you brought from Balthazar's tonight. Did you see Delfer while you were there? Perhaps let him pique your interest a bit, poor boy. Everyone knew he would kill for her hand if it would work. Poor soul, that one. Ugh. Maud rolled her eyes as she wiped a bowl on her apron. He follows me everywhere. If I have to hear another story of how some rodent was chased by his cat in the forge, I will throw myself into the river. He's an odd one. Ari wished that wasn't true. But he's kind, gentle. That can be as valuable in a husband as being a hard worker. And he is the strongest boy in the village, all good qualities. He's like a lost puppy. I haven't the room to breathe. Maud huffed. Can you imagine if I had to live with him? Yes. She regretted how firm she said that. She softened. You can't turn all of them away forever. You should be with your own hearth and children by now. By the time I was your age, I had you in the garden and Alden on my hip. You had Pa. Maud sulked. I have a choice between pranksters, idiots, and Doubtful. You act as if we were love at first sight. I found your husband to be as infuriating as you find Delfer when we were growing up. You should have seen him, all snickers and red hair, like a fox playing in a chicken coop. And don't get me started on what he offered to me day after day. I know, Maud huffed as she finished wiping the last bowl and set it on the table. Pebbles he thought were colorful because he couldn't tell the difference between gray and purple if he hit him in the head with an eggplant. You've told me. But what about the festival dance? One look into his eyes, and all I could see were my future daughter and son. Blah, blah, blah. Really, Mother? I would only see me strangling him in the night if I danced with him. Pick one. Soon. Ari warned with a breathy heft of the water bucket, or your father will, and he'll look less at what you want and more of what you need later. What if this Offlander is unmarried? Perhaps he'll be different, being foreign and all. Or perhaps he'll be like any other newcomer and driven off before he can trench his first planting. Keep your head out of the clouds of what may and start looking at what is. I beg you. The look that Baylor gave her as he sat on their bed spoke volumes, expectant. Not for the hot water to soak his aching feet, which a less mature and younger Ari might have assumed, but for the coming talk about their daughter's future. Ari shifted the bucket to balance on her hip like an infant and ran a comforting hand across Maud's back as she went to him. She pulled her room door closed and set the bucket in front of him. That Dalfer boy is dumber and more useless than Sama. She'd be better off with one of the Gretchen boys, Baylor said as he dipped his feet in the bucket. Ari sat next to him on their straw bed and laid her head on his shoulder. The house was quiet now that Maud and Alden were in their own beds. Shadows shifted on the back of the room door from a candle on the little bedside table. His lips softly touched her forehead, and she grinned with a deep sigh. No one would be better off with those little shits, lands or no. He lifted her head and kissed him. Best to butter him up before defending his little flower against him. Dolfer is an ass. The whole village is full of them. It isn't like when we were young. She's right to want for more than these fools. Though now that I think about it, Delfer is a blacksmith's son. Guild apprentice. Good choice of me, mind. I could have been his mother if I looked at it that way. Have you forgotten that? If you were an ass, I suppose you would have. Ari shook her head with a smile. You're an ass. I am your ass, deep as can be. He moved her mouth to his with a rough hand over her cheek. His whiskers tickled her lips and nose. She tasted his tongue and wrapped her arms around him. Catching her breath, she said at nearly a whisper, I had to thump you for that. His green eyes beamed into hers as they did when he purposely goaded her. I don't know what to do. I want to be happy and provided for. I want her to be happy and provided for. I fear we may have to venture to Alka or Barone this season to introduce her to other boys she hasn't seen piss themselves or fart into bonfires. He leaned back from her. And see her once a summer? No, I cannot. She'll come around. Delpher's a good choice. She likes him. She just needs to see it. I'll speak with the boy and teach him a thing or two on wooing a Cleveland woman. Not pebbles. Ari slid to behind him and wrapped her legs around him, her chin on his shoulder again, his beard tickling her ear and sticking to her hair. She said, promise me you won't tell him to give her pebbles. They were pretty pebbles. Don't care what you say. Honestly, I think we may have to consider watching to see if this Offlander is eligible when he finally gets here. If not, then we must consider the other villages. It won't be long before none will choose her, even if she chooses them. The purple ones were your favorite, if I recall. He shook his head in disbelief. You wouldn't have danced with me if not for those. She slapped his back before beginning to massage his shoulders. Don't josh, I'm serious. We must consider broadening her choices. Fine. I'll be sure to introduce myself to the man when he comes. But he won't last. No newcomer ever does here. They'll drive him off before harvest. Not if he is married to our daughter before then, because you'll stop them. He looked at her over his shoulder. And not make a copper a bushel? We'll starve. Then sell in Alker Village. They're closer to Eldridge and will pay more anyway. 2 days travel or no. Just consider it, please. Fine, I'll consider it. As soon as you admit that the pebble on the hearth rack is purple. If it makes you do it, then yes, it is purple. It was actually the color of the rocks the house was built of, possibly just a piece smoothed by wind of the same boulders. But if there was a possibility that they could find a match for their daughter, and she could lie a little, he'd never know anyway. He was blind as a bat when it came to colors. So that's the first chapter.
Okay. Who wants to open up on this one?
It kind of reminded me of a book that I read. It's a series. Have you heard of the guy Justin Cronin?
No.
No. The opening crawl there with like the pseudo scripture stuff, like the Third Testament or whatever you called. it had the same. It evoked the same kind of discomfort and like horror of like I'm not sure if I should look, but I can't really look away that I had while reading Justin Cronin's The Passage. It's a post-apocalyptic story that starts like pre-apocalypse, but then there's like vampires and all this stuff, and it's weird. But yeah, it was just the initial vibe I got. It made me uncomfortable, but in a like I'm not sure what to make of this just yet. I'm curious and I have a lot of questions, but
The
Yeah, I have it as kind of the.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was gonna say I have it like in italics so that you can tell it apart, and it's before the title page, so I'm like you can
okay.
skip over it, but it explains what the world has become
Right.
Yeah.
without
Right.
having to
Well,
straight out and say it.
no, like I get it. I get it. It definitely has the same feel. I get it. I've read this kind of stuff before, for sure.
What has drawn you to post-apocalyptic in writing this?
What I kind of got, I guess, inspired when I first started it was the idea that we don't know God's plan, we don't understand God's plan, and with
Mhm.
everybody, like especially now, the media is just flooded with this is the end times,
Sure.
and I'm kind of one of those who's like sometimes we kind of cause our own dumb shit,
Right.
like. Yeah, so that's kind of what this is like we screwed up and we punched holes into where the fallen are with all the demons, and now like they're running rampant,
Yeah.
and God's just going, okay, fix your problem.
I got you. Okay. Yeah. That's an interesting take on that. I just from a I'm coming from a post mill perspective, so keep that in mind. I tend to not super be into post apocalyptic, but I appreciate a lot of it. There's a couple series I really enjoy. Like it's a little bit younger based, but the Seven Sleepers by Gilbert Morris. I think that series is pretty good. Yes, he's the Amish fiction guy, but he actually wrote some sci-fi that was fairly decent. But I think that like Daniel, I don't know what to make of it yet. I think your prose is great. It is very dirty and earthy and grounded. Not just the actions of what people are doing, but the actual prose itself of what you're writing, and it definitely feels exactly like what you're going for, right? Um, I am very interested to see how it continues. Um, I don't have a lot of suggestions or anything. It feels pretty well finished in a lot of ways. Like it's well crafted is what I'm saying. It is grabbing me, but like Daniel said, it's an uncomfortable situation. So I'm interested to see how it deals with its own uncomfortableness, if that makes sense. It's not that it's
And it's not like
it's not off-putting. It's you're curious about it, right?
Yeah, like it feels like a cautionary. It's like looking at a train wreck or a car wreck on the side of the road. It's not like I shouldn't look because I don't know what's going to be on the other side of that door.
But also life goes on. You got a little bit of inspiration with
Yeah,
that going, and yeah.
yeah.
Brendan and Jesse, do you guys have thoughts?
I have several.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way they articulated with we don't know if we should could like figure out more about the story, but it's very engaging. It is very entertaining. I don't know what you would say exactly your eschatology is on this, but I would say post millennials can still make apocalyptic
Yes.
movies and stuff, even if it's not their eschatological view, because they're making a world. They're making a world
Right.
that doesn't follow the same rules. And I think one of the obvious. All right, I guess I should get this out of the way just for posterity's sake. Would you claim that this book was revealed to you by God as it was the Old Testament prophets?
Can you hear him or no?
He kind of broke up a lot. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No worries.
Not a problem.
Can you
He'll
repeat your question?
So for posterity's sake, and then I have a bunch of other thoughts after this, but for posterity's sake, would you say this book was revealed to you in the same way that it was the Old Testament prophets? I don't think it's coming through.
I'll repeat. Can you hear me better? Okay. He froze.
Ramsey?
He might be going through a patch here.
Oh, there we go. Are you back?
Oh.
You buzzed out for a second. Are you back, Ramsey?
Yeah.
Did you hear the question?
Only like bits and pieces.
Okay, I'll repeat it. I'll repeat it from my end if you can hear me better. He said, for posterity's sake, would you say that this Testament part of your book and/or the book as a whole was revealed to you in the same way as the Old Testament, for example?
Kind of like I just woke up one day. This is actually I broke off from another project and completely and started writing this one. And throughout it, I have a lot of lessons and stuff. But the idea of like the Third Testament was something that I kept trying to figure out how to explain because it's almost like it's like the Shannara Chronicles in the fact that it's been long enough that societies are reestablished. There are kingdoms, there are industry, there's mercantilism, there's all of that stuff has started back up and come full. But like a lot of these chapters, it was like I couldn't sleep until I wrote them. I had to write them.
Gotcha. I don't think that wasn't exactly what my question was, but that actually did clarify a few other questions that I was going to have. Am I coming
okay.
through, for you as all well?
Yeah, it's a lot better now. I turned off my Wi-Fi. I live in a hotel right now.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. So the reason I asked that is because I've had what I had meant was, are you saying you're an Old Testament prophet? Because we know about closed canon and whatnot. That was more of the question because I've had a few folks say like I have God speak to me like right now. They were diagnosed schizophrenics, of course. So just for posterity's sake, I was just getting that out of the way. But with that being said, the idea of a Third Testament, obviously, we're talking about a fictional setting. So if we just get that out of the way and we say, what are the lessons we can learn from this? That's interesting. Obviously, it's very shaky ground to say here is a Third Testament. But I think
it's fiction, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're already aware of that, and that's why you're applying it.
And I have characters at different points criticizing the Third Testament because they're like, we have stuff from when it was written, and nothing is written that way. They wrote it specifically to be tacked on to the back of the Bible.
Right.
Like things along those lines.
Okay, so you're dealing with that within the story. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, that's actually really cool. It creates
that makes me feel so much better.
Dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the Third Testament is just the explanation.
Did you honestly
how...
think he was? Did you
no,
really think
I didn't.
That he was trying?
They might have. I didn't.
No. I was trying to figure out where he was going so that I can actually defend this for future reference because I know folks who do believe that, so I'm trying to see where are you coming from specifically so that I can know for future conversation. Because if I told somebody, oh, I know this guy who's making this book about a Third Testament, they would all freak out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No. So like, I just have the passages. I'm never gonna like actually write them.
Yeah.
But like the whole thing, that was just an explanation of how the first Paladin was made. So you have an idea of like, this is the thing.
Yes.
And then the
I did think
sequel,
that was
I
fun, too.
have a different passage, and the major part in it is the paladin's son gets killed during a siege. And I still write it very biblically, but there's a point where his next in command, another paladin, tells him, "Quiet your heart so you can hear him."
Right.
When does Cadogan
Things like that are in it.
close?
So it's,
Daniel, you're on the mic.
Yep. You were on mic,
so
Daniel,
like
but anyway.
it just,
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I thought I'd stepped into the other room far away enough.
So, did you say this is an excerpt from your first book, like chapter 1, and that one's done? That's the 122,000. Man, and this isn't published anywhere yet.
no. I'm right now. I'm trying to get to 100 chapters total between the two before I put it on Royal Road.
Gotcha. Okay. So
That way I can do like increments, and because
nice.
the way I'm writing it, even when I'm trying, because I read it to my pastor, and well, my pastor reads it and critiques, and then I read it to my mother once a week because she's old and alone, and basically I kind of writing it like season 1, season 2. The third book's going to be essentially, season 3, that type of thing. That's kind of how I'm writing it.
Sense? Yeah.
With those clarifications out of the way, I actually had more than that to offer, other than questions. I was engaged whenever you started. I was just this was immediately. I actually think because it said Third Testament, and obviously we knew where you're coming. Now we know where you're coming from, but that's shaky ground for a lot of people, and I think that's a good thing.
Yes,
because it
I
got
agree.
us a little more engaged. We're like,
Mm-hmm.
what do we mean? What's the angle here? But as you go on, you can just tell it's well written. It's well written.
Yes.
It's very well executed. It's very engaging. It was making me think almost like Little House on the Prairie in medieval times, but this is set in the future, in a post-apocalyptic setting, right? With it.
I mean, it's a medieval. Huh?
You're
It's a
good.
medieval. Go ahead. It's a medieval.
Okay. Yeah, it's a medieval, like they built over top of the ruins, like the area, and it doesn't fully get defined until the second book that they're in is Strasbourg, France, but they're on the outskirts of Strasbourg.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah, you need to read the passage from Justin Cronin.
okay, the passage by Justin Cronin. I'm gonna write that down.
This
it's secular and it's kind of ugly in parts, but it accomplishes a lot of what you're doing.
Okay.
So
it reminds
Yeah,
me
I'll
of
definitely
Einstein's. I think it's Einstein's quote. I do not know with what weapons World War III shall be fought, but World War IV shall be fought with sticks and stones. And this is kind of continuing that, but tackling that same idea in a Christian setting. What are the religious texts that are going to come from this? How is the church going to react to this? How are Christians going to react to this? And I think that's actually very, very, very compelling, because it's not saying this is going to happen. This is not a prophetic thing. It's more of a warning of what could happen. What could happen, and how can we learn from how they react versus how we ought to react. And inviting critique is one of the biggest things, especially whenever you're dealing with Christianity inside of a fantastical setting. I say fantastical, future setting. The way you outlined, sorry, that was like some of the most engaging dialogue I've heard in a while. I learned so much about how their political dynamic with other feudal lords was happening, and I was like, "This is really fun to listen to." Where like the marriage politics was very intriguing, because it's obviously you're going from being just a girl to growing to be a woman. Well, when do you get married there? And I don't know. I'm not really. My thoughts aren't so gathered on that. But I just to say, I thought it was very good, and I don't really think I had many critiques as far as just the politics of it went. Obviously, you said it's a PG-13 style novel. I don't know how much further you go on throughout the books, but always exercise caution whenever dealing with scenes of relative intimacy. But
You did great here. Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't get much further.
You said it seemed like there was a wall and you didn't cross it. You got close, but you did not cross it.
Well done.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like that was well done.
Brendan, did you have anything?
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Brendan, did you have anything
I want to see this thing.
Get to I guess I'll probably go next. Then we have Joel, or no, then Daniel, and then Joel. And yeah, if Daniel, you can do Aaron during your turn as well if that's the case. But that's probably what we'll do. Jesse, you can. Why don't you show your drawing real quick? You said you had a drawing. We can go ahead and do that now.
Yeah.
While we're
I was commissioned a while back. I think this was earlier this year.
Sorry, Brendan. You can do your talk. You can do your feedback after he shows his thing real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Just hold it for 1 second.
Brendan, do you have anything? And then you just kept talking. It was fun.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I want to hear.
Sorry.
I'm sure Brendan's thoughts are going to be way more articulate than mine.
Okay, that's fine. He's giving it back to you,
I do want to
Brendan.
hear that.
He's giving it back to you, Brendan.
Well,
Go ahead.
I mean, you're wrong. No. The only thing that okay, first of all, thank you for bringing a story here. Just right off the bat.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that. That was really, really good as far as I can tell. What threw me off actually was a perceived prose shift. What I mean by that is that you started off with what I felt was fairly older style prose. I don't want to say biblical per se, but it felt more in that vein. Now, you mentioned later on that was either in parentheses or it was like in front of the book, so like or in front of the chapter, so it was
prologue.
Like it's meant to be separate, and that helps a lot. But going from that to the much more modern dialogue and interdialogue exposition, I'm not gonna lie, it threw me. Now that is entirely an audio issue. Yeah. It is not a I'm sure if I were actually physically looking at it, it wouldn't have thrown me, but that's just one perceived thing. It's like, oh, whoever he gets the audio, whoever he has read the audiobook, if you want to read an audio, make sure that they very clearly delineate blah, 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 blah. Chapter 1, blah, 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 blah. Right? That's the only thing. Really
right, because I think at the end of that prologue excerpt, you had said it was like First Palatinate, chapter 1, verse 1 through 27 or something. I thought that was interesting because it's hinting at a larger scripture, as it were, that you'll probably be hinting more throughout the rest of the books. And I thought that was interesting.
Yep.
And again, being able to properly see that would help me out because that also is very good. These people are much better listeners than I am.
Me personally,
Daniel.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Go ahead, Brendan.
Oh, dude.
I think that I don't think the intimacy was that bad, but I also was in public school, so take that with 1,000 pounds of salt. I think it was fun, and I really liked how the characters constantly were like the husband and wife were constantly teasing each other, sort of, despite like the wife wanting it to be a serious conversation. The husband kept making jokes about pebbles. I think that was great. I absolutely think your characters are fantastic. I would love to hear an excerpt of action if you have any in future. That's all I want to say. I'm done.
All right.
I'll go back to my corner now.
All right. Appreciate it. Sorry about interrupting you there, Brendan. Was just verbalizing. I'd like to say something. What I thought it was interesting. What took him out, what threw him, was what pulled me back in. Whenever you switch from those prose to the more grounded language, it kind of had the effect for me of I'm in the clouds. I don't know what the heck I'm looking at. And then, poof, oh,
Yeah. All right.
Right. A lot of people will tell their story by just explaining to you what the plot and the world around it. And there's a lot of world building, and it's good world building. But that's not how you introduce it to them. You need to introduce it in a hole in the ground.
Right.
Right. You have to approach the relationships of a person and why it's important to this person, what the stakes are for this person personally.
Definitely.
Before you get to the broader here's the world, right?
All
Before
right.
you can start in the world, it starts in the household. So
Yep. Let's see your
Yeah.
drawing, man.
oh right, so I was commissioned earlier this year by Logosophia magazine. They're doing some kind of a saint spotlight, and I believe this would be Saint Hildegard of where I forget. I drew her a couple weeks ago.
Very nice.
It's a charcoal rendering.
Oh.
It's the second one I've ever made, and the last time was like 4 years ago. And the coloration was an afterthought. That's why it's not very good. Overall,
That
it only
is
took me
awesome.
5 minutes. If I had spent more time, it would look a lot better. But I don't know
That's
if
better
anybody,
than I could do in a year.
if anyone draws and has any critiques, I would much appreciate.
Brendan, I know you draw.
Brendan, you're muted.
Being focusy weird. Oh yeah, you're muted. You're muted, Brendan.
Just
There you go.
focusing.
Let me see. Again. Decent proportions. Nose is a hair low, but that's not a big deal. Actually, the nose and mouth are low relative to the chin. That's not a huge deal. You got good proportions on that. Personally, and this is a pseudo-stylistic choice on that front. I say stylistic choice. So when you're drawing eyes, the more of the white that you show underneath the iris, the creepier it looks. That's just, most of the time our lower eyelid our iris it touches both our lower and upper eye. We have to widen our eyes a lot in order for to see whites on both. The natural default state, especially for someone with a resting face, the iris would be touching both the upper and lower lid of the eye.
Yes, I actually do. I do agree with that. Do you have more?
No, it's a charcoal drawing, dude. And I draw. I'm not amazing, and most of my stuff is highly stylized. So the fact that you're doing something closer to photorealism, even if it's not perfect photorealism, it's more Renaissance art realism.
Yes. So the reason why it looks this way is because I'm trying to give it a degree of photorealism, but this Saint Hildegard of Bingen in Germany. She was an
Hildegard von Bingen.
Hildegard von Bingen. Yes, thank you.
Not to be confused with Hildegard von Blingen, who is the YouTuber that does parkour of
Blingen.
Yes, Hildegard von Blingen. Yes,
that's funny.
Fantastic.
So all the pretty much all of the references for her are
medieval
iconography, and there's a lot of I don't know if it's Orthodox iconography. It might be some Catholic stuff as well, but iconography that's old like that. It doesn't really focus on photorealism, but the proportions on a person are usually right. Sometimes some things are exaggerated. One of the things she had was an exceptionally long nose that would rest just above her, at least from multiple sources, that seemed to be the most consistent thing. Even the way her eyes set was interesting. The chin thing, I think the chin thing might not be entirely correct because her chin is actually below the coloring. kind of like it kind of goes like that.
Okay,
and that's
all
how
right.
nuns wear their stuff.
That's
Um,
probably an issue with my with the screen and your camera not being able to pick up the detail as well, and that's just
Right.
and you're a video guy. That's a lighting thing, probably.
Well, it's I also
He also
have
has a
it
filter
focused.
on. Yeah, he has a focus filter on.
Yeah,
But that's fine. I'm sure. Yeah, like I said, I'm sure. Okay, knowing that helps immensely to understand what's going on. So
right. But no, the nose I think is too close to the lip, as you had said. It's an interesting thing about the eyes too. I'd kind of noticed that, and I actually had corrected it at first. But I changed it after the fact because I was trying to make something seem a little bit different. You know how this is the whole thing that iconography would try to deal with. Early depictions of Christ and whatnot. Whether not even approaching the subject of whether or not that's a good idea. You have the iconographers who are trying to figure out how do we convey he is God and man. So one side would be realistic, but the other side would be very like dramatically proportioned. And that kind of carried along with a lot of iconography later on with the church. And one of the ways to do that is with the eyes. Now, not all of them had like tiny little eyes, but I had chose to do that because I was trying to make her seem a little different. I could have just made a halo, right, to signify that she was a saint, right? But I just chose to do the eye thing instead.
Gotcha. That's great, man. Good work. If you guys are good, I think I will do my poem next. My poems are a little shorter. Then we can do Daniel, and then we can do Joel's submission that he sent in. Is that a good schedule for everybody in question, Daniel? Is that good for you?
I think so. And if everyone's okay with, I had a thing for myself.
And from
I'm working
Aaron.
on developing a game, and one thing from Aaron. I've been working with him on shortening stuff, and he's nicely consolidated some information into 1,000 words.
Depending on how time works out, I may slip Joel in between your two things, or he may end up being last, but we'll see how it goes. So, is that cool with you?
That's what I was. Yeah, I'm fine. Since I have two things, I'd rather it feel like I'm not taking an extra long turn.
All right, I've been reading for the last several weeks, Ramsey, and anyone else listening, Ramsey, and everyone else who is listening that hasn't heard. I write epic poetry. I basically do 3 to 5 minute poems that are serial, that are in several different worlds, and the most weird and mercurial of all of my worlds is what I've been reading lately, because I know it's never really going to be like any kind of major thing if any of my poetry ever crosses over. This is the least likely, but it is a professional wrestling series in epic poetry. Jesse loves it. Jesse loves this series so far. But this is going to be just a quick recap of what we've done so far. A rookie comes to Orlando overnight from North Georgia to wrestle his first match on TV for a big promotion. And he meets up with a couple different characters along the way, some of them kind, some of them not. Ends up getting into a sort of political squabble between a female wrestler who is returning and the boss, who is mad at her for injuring his daughter in a match. And putting her on the shelf for a time. So, basically, Joshua and this female team up against the tag team champions, known as the Atlantics, and Carrie Starr, the women's champion. So it's a handicap match, 3-on-2. They end up beating them, and Jessica is so impressed with Joshua, the rookie, that she is essentially offering to tutor him. She finds out he's 20. She's nearing the end of her career. She's, mid to late 30s. Females tend to have a shorter career. So she's not interested in him in any kind of weird way, initially, but she is definitely intrigued by him because it's obvious he has had a crazy life and she doesn't know all the details yet. So he's being very, I don't want tutelage right now, but thank you, trying to be respectful, also trying to not get in any weird situations of any sort with her as much as he thinks she's cool. And so now we're picking up with his first match the following week. This is kind of like mid-match, right? We're going from her offering that and him running off from their meeting at a restaurant to middle of his next match. This is Joshua Slater versus Ricky Serpiente. Smack went Joshua Slater's face straight down into the mat. The crowd roared loudly as he went to superkick Ricky right back. Ricky Serpiente was far too quick, matrixing back in a bridge, and Joshua Slater fell over the top rope, landing splat like a fly or a midge. Come on, Jessica whispered while watching on a monitor TV. She clenched her fist and noticed the nails she'd been biting nervously. This was a big match for Josh, even if it was a house show. So this actually isn't on TV. This is a house show. I forgot. A house show is a non-televised event for, for a promotion that does TV matches and stuff, usually. He won his very first WWL match, but the second one would be a show of just how very good he was, win, lose, or draw. And Ricky was especially quick. Could he be caught by the big dog's paws? Jessica's mind went back to the match. Ricky was running toward the ropes. Joshua followed directly behind, grabbed a gut wrench, and Ricky was toast. German suplex after German suplex, and Ricky looked way worse for wear. One final tossing release came to Ricky, and the crowd lit up everywhere. Joshua howled, his eyes intense, and Ricky began to stand up. He put Ricky up in a fireman's carry. This big dog was no little pup. He tugged on Ricky's legs and spun him around, spine-busting him to the mat. He got the win 3 seconds later, and that was that. Jessica couldn't help but stare as Josh barked and celebrated. She wondered if he'd hurt Ricky. His spine looked separated. That move, whatever the name of it was majorly intimidating. While he needed some extra work, he didn't deserve the rookie rating. She then looked down at her phone and the notification light blinking. She reached and saw she had a text. Joshua had wrote, "I'm thinking maybe I can see you tonight. As long as we are cool, we can study tapes and just hang out. The hotel you're in has a pool." I guess what I'm trying to say is, can I still come over tonight? I'm not looking for anything weird, just a friend, all right? Jessica smiled at the belated text and his transparent honesty. She texted him back, "Sure, big dog, come over whenever you're free." So there's that one.
Man, every single time you've like the end, I get a little sad.
Why? This is not continuing?
Because I want more.
Keep going.
Because it's over.
Yeah, we're too late on time. Otherwise, I do too. But yeah, go ahead. Daniel.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to go back and I need to review this. I need to go back and review this.
From the last time they had done the 3-2
the handicap match, yeah. The 3-on-2 handicap match, yeah.
And at near the end of that, functionally, Jessica had said she wasn't trying to hit on him, but it sounded like she was trying to hit on him.
Right.
And he was
And she got dressed up because she was trying
like,
to be professional, and he was like, no. Right, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why he's like so openly honest in this one, for those who are confused.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed these things so much, man. I would like these things would be so much fun to put as like a TV show.
Have you seen my
like
channel? Have you seen my personal channel?
So I need to go through them because I had caught one of them in my feed, and I was like, oh, I actually need to watch through these at some point.
I'm still building through them. You know, any day I'm not doing one of either a podcast or a Brood related short. I'm doing these pretty much these, and sometimes I do a general's report, whatever. But like, this is a regularly scheduled thing, and I'm building them out. And then when I have a full episode, I'm going to put it up as one big video. And then when I have a full season, they'll have a video with one full season. So I'm currently working through all the worlds, kind of not random, but I'm drawing them randomly, and reading through them and putting the music and everything on it and stuff. So yeah, it's going along good. But if you ever want me to have a personal call with you and read through it, I will. That's totally up to you. It's not complete, but it's like halfway
a marathon
through.
Performance.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Make sure you include me in that.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we can set that up sometime.
That'd be fun.
If Jesse's into it. So anyway, but like I said, it's like halfway done for the full arc, the full season. It's not 100%, but it's 50-ish poems. So yeah. So it's gonna be about 100. And so yeah. Anyway, Daniel, if no one else has any other feedback, Daniel, you will be next. Any other feedback from anybody?
No, I thought it was great. I don't really have anything.
You're good.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Daniel, you can go ahead and take the floor and do your first thing. Just let me know when you're done with the first thing, and I'll decide whether I'm reading Joel or going ahead and let you continue.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to just do one. But I'd be happy to hear y'all's feedback, what you would like to hear. My brother has written a new prologue to our story, The Maiden's Child.
Mhm.
For those of you who have not heard it before or heard of The Maiden's Child before, it is an epic fantasy story which follows Katira, a human midwife, as she is tasked with guarding the last surviving heir to the throne as a tyrannical warlord who is empowered by ancient primordial beings called the Elders. And as she journeys on into a quest to raise the heir into adulthood. Additionally, I could also pivot and talk to you guys about a bit of a board game that I'm working on crafting. It is current working title is Hex Bound, like hex grid bound. It is a simple fighting game for 2 to 6 players. The goal is to make something you and your family, targeting more towards like the older teenagers, can play in like 30 to 45 minutes. And then, yeah. Which of those two should I go into?
I'm good with either, man. They both sound good. What were you saying, the board game?
I vote board game so that
He votes
we
board
have
game.
Aaron will come by and read his own stuff because I really like it whenever he shows up and he's so good at reading it.
Whenever he shows up and what?
Whenever he shows up and whenever he reads it.
I gotcha. Right on. Alrighty. I can go ahead and pivot to that. Just give me a second. Okay, so Hexbound is a battle royale. I'm using kind of a ChatGPT generated prompt. I fed it all my ideas and it needed a quick pitch. I'll edit as needed. Anyway, Hexbound is a battle royale of brains, bronze, and brilliant powers. There are 6 rivals, 1 board, no allies, only legends. I don't know, it's been weird. So Hexbound is a fast-paced, rules-light combat game built for 2 to 6 players, or more in teams, so a lot of modes of play, where each player controls a single, vividly themed character on a modular hex grid. So you'd have a grid, you'd have your little pawn, you're going around the grid like that. Each character has 4 customizable stats: your attack, defense, wits, and speed. and a signature power that rewrites the rules, whether that's punching through portals, melting enemies with a mind blast, or dashing in circles around the battlefield. Every round is a puzzle. Do you keep up with your energy points? The action economy of this game is centered around using action points to power special abilities, basic moves like moving, attacking. And yeah, so it encourages these like really big, potent narratives of two rivals standing off, or you get alliances forming. But I really wanted to focus on making something that is dynamic and fast. And I feel like this game should have existed already, but it doesn't anywhere that I can tell. So I wanted to make something for, those teenage boys in my life that love role playing games, but then the combat gets kind of starts to lose them really quick. I wanted to make something very ADHD friendly, and I think I'm getting there. The gist of the combat centers around the use of six-sided dice for every. Oh, I gotta get that number right. Every 5 and 6 you roll, that counts as one success. Say if I were to roll an attack with 2 dice and I roll a 5 and a 6, and you rolled a 5, that 5 cannot block the 6, but it could block the 5. So I would do 1 hit on you. If, say, you had a 6, you would block the 6, etc., etc. That is just the combat system. There's other rules I could get into, but I don't want you guys down with a full-on rules explanation. But that's the gist of it. I'm still working on the character abilities. Like, I know Red is obviously going to be the offensive character. Blue would be, I guess, defensive. I guess. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Vibes working well with that one. Yellow, I'm thinking, is speedy, so faster, and has character abilities that allow them to go faster, move more, and per like action point they spend, they get an additional movement. Pink was fun. I wanted to make something for my niece to keep her engaged if I ever make a game like this. She is the glass cannon. She has an ability which I'm calling Mind Piercer, which she is rather fragile. So the HP, the health points that everyone starts with, it's low. So it's about 5 to 12 is the range for the HP. She's on that bottom rung. She's only got 5 or 6 points of HP. But she has a special ability. Should she have enough energy, she can spend that and then target anyone on the board anywhere, and we'll do a big hit. So it's going to be like 5 points of damage or something. So that would be like a one shot to a weaker character. She's the weakest one in the game. I'm kind of balancing it to make sure she doesn't just immediately one shot people, but she's at least doing a significant amount of damage that cannot be prevented or blocked, but for a lot of energy. Stuff like that got tweaks. Jinx is my favorite character that I've actually properly named. She has the ability to jinx people, obviously. So whereas a 5 or a 6 is normally a success, once she jinxes someone, only a 6 counts as a success. Anyway.
I just have one question.
Dynamic.
The pink one. Would it be cool if you took that Mind Piercer ability and made it so, say it does 5 damage every time, kind of a thing, but you allow to be used, you can spread it out over multiple sources or attack one?
Yeah, like different like magical bolts almost.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Like an orbital bombardment. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Careful what you're saying.
And if you want to, maybe if you wanted to lower.
Hey, Braden.
Saying.
Braden, what?
I'm just cautioning you because you are dealing with IPs that literally send some of the companies that own some of these IPs literally send the Pinkertons after people.
Right.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just naming wise.
But
That's
yeah.
what he's saying mainly. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just haven't developed a name for her. The name that ChatGPT gave me didn't really fit the theme. She is a glass cannon telepath.
I think he was
I don't
referring to
know.
Mind Piercer.
Oh, yeah. Is that a thing?
I don't know if he's there at the moment. That's okay.
Under the board.
Braden's been listening a good chunk of this.
Mind Piercer, Mind Piercer, I'm pretty sure is a thing. I cannot remember from though.
Well, like
Okay.
I know Snowpiercer is a thing, but I don't know.
And Mind
That was a
Flayer is
weird
thing
movie.
as well.
It was
Yeah.
very.
What were you saying,
Yeah,
Ramsey?
I think
that's the gist.
it's along the lines. It's a spell in D&D, so I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's kind of a slight change in the name might do it, but
Yep.
I don't think it would cause too many feathers to ruffle.
Yep.
Yeah, the safer option would be a name change, because board game companies, I don't know how. I'm not aware of their politics. Maybe they sue each other all the time. So
Yeah,
it might be safer.
I honestly haven't found too much in the board game community.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Braden.
so this is the world that I've lived in for the last 15 years of my life. Yes, board game companies sue each other for IPs all of the time. And
Okay.
when they sue each other, it's not a oh, I'm going to sue you for the value of the what this game has sold for so far. It's I'm suing for the value of the game, the value of the lost game that we could have lost, and the projected value of this game, and the projected value of lost game, which when you start looking at that, we're talking about millions of dollars.
Right.
So be very careful in what you're naming things. Like, there's a reason that Pathfinders uses the term game master.
Right.
There's a reason that you should be very careful about what you're naming this ability, because if you let it do what Joshua is describing, sorry, it comes very close to an ability in another system.
Yeah.
But that's also in Square Enix, like that. Like there's stuff like that in JRPGs.
Yeah, it might
you
not
know?
be. It might not be licensed.
I've seen all this like legal chatter online where there was. I don't think you can really patent game mechanics.
But the game company that made Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor did with what they call the Nemesis system, which is one of the most brilliant mechanics in gaming. They licensed
it has to be unique enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has a separate system, and it can't be. You have to prove that no one else is currently using that system, and it basically acts like a copyright, not a patent.
Or that everyone else is using that. Right.
Right. If it's you can't patent a battle royale.
Right.
Yeah, like
universal.
Right now, it's a very generic thing. I haven't really even put my own flavor on it. It's just vibes and violence.
Yep, that's a great name.
I think that's
vibes
fun.
and violence. Anyway,
vibes and violence. Yeah.
How long would the game time be?
There you go.
I'm sorry. What was that, Jesse?
How long would the game time be?
Ideally, 30 to 45 minutes. I want
Nice.
it to be simple and quick, and so that way, like, no one in this game should have any more than like 15 points of health. That way I can kind of keep things going. Like,
Yeah.
if you're hit by that mind piercer ability 3 times, you're out. And so, yeah. And I've been playtesting some of the things, especially with her, because she is so fragile that she really has to keep her distance from everyone else. But if you don't press on her at all,
It'll matter.
it'll matter.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
So yeah, it's fun. And then I have trying to think what else. Okay, if blue is offensive, red is offensive, blue is defensive, pink is that, gray is unlucky, green was lucky, so that he doesn't really have a special like a lot of flavor, but he's essentially just a leprechaun that goes around. And whereas Jinx makes it where only 6s are success for everyone else that she targets with her ability. Green's is 4s through 6s on a single die become a success.
Right. Makes sense.
So
yeah.
this system, it just like, it's been eating up on me because it is so intuitive. It's just like, I'm moving a dial here, I'm adding something here, I'm subtracting something here. Pink or yellow was fast. I'll think of something for that one. Orange, I wanted to be able to regenerate more. I haven't worked out the math for that. And then purple is, I think, teleporting with like portals. So increased range of movement.
How large is the map?
How large is the map? I played around with a few variants and a few possibilities, but these tiles here are from another board game. I gutted like 4 board games to get all the pieces. Who did we lose? Braden. But I wanted to make something that was variable. And so this is from a game called Blindside, where players can take turns kind of creating the map and using different variable features to their advantage. But it could look weird. It could be like this, or it could be as simple as doing more of a D&D style battle map.
Right, yeah.
I like the idea of making it where they can make their own map. That way you keep what your tactics are for the game in mind. Kind of like the risk if you don't give out the cards, you can actually choose your territories.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, and to add different range. Range comes into play. So say red is over here. Say blue is over here. If red is more than 3 spaces away from blue, I might still be able to attack should I have a special ability or an attack that has a range of that much or more. However, blue is going to get a defensive bonus, and that's simply they are just going to get an additional die to roll for their defense.
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right.
However, if red presses the attack, moves closer, they get a bonus for being aggressive. Yada yada.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and read Joel's story. It looks like he's doing a short story outside of his normal thing. Cool. So you guys give good feedback on that. Joel has D&D usually on Broodcast nights, and so he makes sure to leave feedback to people in the Facebook Messenger Brood especially. I think he does a little bit on Discord too, but sometimes he shows up, but he usually has me read for him. All right, this one's called Ghost Warrior. He didn't give me any instructions. It doesn't have anything ahead of time, so I'm just going straight through. The dishes clanked as Toby's hands shook. He took one more glance over his shoulder before he carried the tray behind the counter to the sink and started putting them in the soapy water. He knew he should wash them, but his curiosity overpowered his fear. The dishes weren't going anywhere anyway. Toby stuck his head out of the door and studied the mysterious man in the dark cloak. Silent as a statue, he sat at the corner table, half obscured in the shadows as he ate his stew. He hadn't said a word to anyone, and had only grunted to Toby's mother when she asked if he would like food or just a drink. "Stay back, Toby," his father warned. "That man must be dangerous. You see his giant sword?" Obeying his father's order, the boy returned to the sink and started scrubbing. A chill down his spine made him splash suds onto his shoes. He looked back. A wind blew open the window, making the candles flicker and go out. The light from the fires seemed to die as well. The dining room grew quiet as the patrons watched the shadows grow longer and longer. Dark spectral shapes drifted over the tables, searching the faces. A young girl began trembling as a fog-like face materialized to stare at her. She clutched her mother tightly. "Enough!" the dark man from the corner shouted, springing to his feet. Several people spilled their bowls as they jumped. All the ghosts turned and flew towards him, encircling him in a ring of spectral fog. "Out, all of you!" he shouted to the window. Toby gawked as the ghosts obeyed and left the room. "Go back to your meals, everyone. They're here from me," he said, his voice sounding as though it was being raked through gravel. Lifting the bowl, he drank the rest of his stew and dropped a few coins on the table. "Sorry, everyone," he muttered, as he shouldered his sword and made his way from the tavern. The light seemed to return, and people muttered, but Toby had to follow. He snuck to the door and watched the man follow the spectral forms down the road. "My mom's gonna kill me if she finds out," Toby thought as he ran after the man. The sun was setting as Toby crawled behind a log to watch the man. The warrior, he had decided to call him. They were approaching Beckman's place, a small farm outside of town. Toby remembered going with his grandmother a year ago to help with chores after Mr. Beckman had delivered her second baby. The house was dark, for not even the light from a fire could be seen through the windows. Putrid smells stung Toby's nose, making him gag. Then he heard them. Goblins. He searched the yard until he spotted them. Several, their pointy ears just visible above the grass. One stood up and began playing with something. The others roared with laughter. After a moment, Toby realized it was a head. He shuddered. The warrior drew his sword as he entered the house. A second later, goblin squeals rang through the air. The ones in the tall grass turned and charged the house, drawing their weapons. The warrior stepped out and met their charge head-on. Swinging wide, he sliced the first one, sidestepped the second, and stabbed the third. A spectral hovered over the second goblin as it wheeled around. The goblin seemed confused by the ghost and sliced at the air. The warrior used the distraction to hack its head from its body. To Toby, the battle seemed over in an instant. He realized he had been holding his breath and let out a long sigh. The air cooled, making him shiver and giving him goosebumps. Without looking, Toby knew one of the ghosts was right over him. His knees began shaking. The warrior turned and looked right at his hiding place. The young boy felt the ghost coming lower. The warrior walked closer, his sword resting on his shoulder. Toby bolted, running as fast as he could. The ghost swarmed around him, so thick that he couldn't see. Toby fell to his knees and covered his head. "Stop!" yelled the warrior. "Heather, Beth, Rose, all of you get away from him. You're scaring the poor boy to death." The ghosts obeyed and flew off, circling the house. The warrior knelt and pulled the boy to his feet. "You're all right, son. They won't hurt you. Toby tried to find his voice, but they could only stammer. The ghosts were now swirling around an old tree stump. The warrior jogged over, waving his hands to shoo the specters away, and he examined the dead wood. He pulled off a large piece of bark, revealing a hole. Toby looked past to see the Beckman daughter. Her eyes were squeezed shut as she whispered a prayer as she rocked her baby brother. Kneeling, the warrior rubbed her arm. It's all over. Come on out. It's safe now. He offered her his hand and smiled, an unfamiliar gesture for the worn and weathered face. The girl blinked and looked up at him with tear-filled eyes. Her hand shook as she reached out. The warrior helped her out and comforted her for a second. One ghost swooped low, coming right in front of the little girl. No, she shrieked, falling to her knees. Come on, Debbie, the warrior scolded. She's had a hard enough day. The spectral flew off. The warrior knelt next to her and rubbed the girl's back. Why do they listen to you? Toby asked as the specter drifted away. What do they want? What do they want? The warrior repeated. They want to hug. They want to comfort. They want the three of you to be safe. It's a cruel twist of fate that they can only cause fear. He scooped up the little girl and cradled her in his arms. She clung to his neck. How do you know their names? I was there when each of them died. They were all mothers, who with their dying breath begged me to save their children. They all swore that they would do anything to help me if only I would save their sons and daughters. I didn't know what was happening, but they bound their souls to me. Now they search for other children in danger and bring them to me. Or bring me to them. Wow, so you command ghosts? Command? No, they barely listen to me. I have to go get whatever kind they found, or I have to go get whatever kid they found, or they won't let me get any sleep. They barely let me get food. I still get the creeps every time one of them touches me. I would set them all free, if I could. As the warrior bandaged the girl's scrapes, Toby watched the ghost float nearby. He tried to look at it with fresh eyes, hoping to envision a woman like his mother. The ghost turned, and for a split second he saw a young woman. Then the image was replaced with the spectral form. His eyes seemed unable to focus on her. She drifted closer, a hand extending. Toby reached up to touch it. A chill ran down his arms, making him shiver. All right, let's get you home. I hope your parents know somewhere these two can spend the night. And that's the end.
Joel, if you're listening to this, you might want to consider naming it The Babysitters.
That's great. That's great.
That was good.
That was really good. That was way different than his normal thing. His normal thing is sort of like a Roland Emmerich novel that he's been working on for a time, sort of with Halo stuff mixed in, where you've got this alien invasion and they're creating nanotech zombies, and it's really good. We love it. We love hearing Joel every time. This is way different from his normal stuff, but it still has a lot of the same like characterization of some of the gruff hero character, and for example, I'm in love. I love this concept. The way you revealed it was fantastic.
Oh yeah, it was very well. Okay, that was very well paced, because immediately you get a bunch of okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to say before me?
Go ahead.
Or should I just go?
Go, dude. Just go.
All right.
Yeah,
Go.
So you start off, and it's a tavern. It makes me think of Treasure Island. I've never finished Treasure Island, for the record. I literally only read like the first chapter, and then I just got too busy and forgot to read it. I should pick it up again, though. It reminds me of how that book starts off in a tavern, and there's an old gruff guy who walks in, and then he has a fight with another ingoer, right? And it alludes to a larger world. And so I kind of lost focus because I was dealing with some stuff over here towards the beginning when the ghosts came into the place. But I got the gist that they showed up and everybody was super freaked out. And so he just stands up and is like, "Don't worry, don't
They're
worry,
here
guys.
for me." Yeah.
It's on me." Yeah. And at first I thought, oh, it's like the Grim Reaper. He's gonna die.
Right.
But no, instead he's going to like do some pest control. And I was like, it's almost like it's kind of like The Witcher, I suppose, where he's like a monster slayer in a way. But the idea that these are grieving mothers who are forever grieving and are themselves grieved because they're dead was very, very, very interesting, because it's like, wait, so there's a magic to promises in this world.
Right.
And if you make a serious enough promise, like, you better watch your mouth, in other words. You better watch the words you say, because you will be bound by them. That's a very, very compelling idea.
Agreed.
Because it literally can lead to your death and never being able to rest in it. I thought that was and the naming of them was very, very, very well done. Because it's like, yeah, Heather, Beth, and Rose, get away from him.
Yep.
Because like, you're thinking he's about to die.
It almost sounds like he's cursing at first, like Heather, Beth, and Rose, like it's an expletive.
Yeah,
like,
I was thinking, very.
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of like the Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, what is happening right now? I think there's 4 of them. There might be more.
Yeah,
but
I think the other one was Debbie, if I remember correctly.
Well. Mm-hmm.
So,
dude, that was good. That's very compelling, because the way the character explains it, it's like it answers your question, and now you want more, because you know. It
reminds me of like a Sega Genesis or Super NES game. Like, I can totally imagine like a side scroller, like medieval sort of witchery type thing where you're controlling a couple different ghosts, right? It has that vibe to me, which I just love.
Yeah. That was fun. That was entertaining, and I hope it's not just. Is this an isolated short story? Because if so, I think it's perfect.
He has no meta information for this. I want more. So,
for the record, I think it's perfectly paced. It doesn't have to continue, but please do.
Yes, please.
I think I have an inclination as to where he got inspiration from, or part of where he did. He's been talking with me a lot about my ideas for the Midnight Accord, and he's just been like egging me on, like, you have to write the Midnight Accord. You have to write it. So there's at least a connection there. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. It's a story about ghosts, and I know what our last conversation was, and I was like, okay, well, he's about to do me up again.
Well, you can rebut. Believe me, I know you're good enough to do it. You just got to take the time to do it.
I just need to take the time.
All right, I think Aaron is here to read his if he wants to.
Possibly.
If he wants Daniel to read it, then that's fine. I know he's muted right now. Aaron is Daniel's brother, for anyone who doesn't know that. And so, he has the floor / Daniel has the floor when we want to. Go ahead. Yeah, Brenda.
Unfortunately, I have a lot I have to do. I have to, in theory, edit an entire hour-long lecture before tomorrow night. And I work from 1 to 9. So I'm going to leave now so that I can sleep. I'm sorry,
Brendan.
That's totally fine.
Hope to catch you.
Good luck.
Aaron has just said, I cannot read. I imagine he is not. He said he cannot read right now.
Okay, so you can.
I'm assuming it's like a mic issue or his place, because I'm pretty sure he's not dyslexic and he can read.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't get that.
Yeah, he's not available to read right now.
All right, well, you got the floor then.
For the sake of time, I don't have to if Aaron's not available, unless you guys just want to absolutely must.
I do want to hear it, but if you said it's not fully cooked yet, it might be
You
better.
might want to save it for the next time. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's fully cooked. I am looking at it, and we could work on it a little bit, but it is significantly shorter than our previous stuff. And we've already gone over significantly.
All right. Well, let me announce one
Remind me.
thing, and then we can go ahead and do the send off and hang out if we end up wanting to hang out. If you have to go, you have to go. Not a problem. The one announcement I want to make is Poets at War. A lot of you have been who have been listening have noticed we're doing each of these things that we normally do, like the Broodcast and Burnt Marshwiggle and all of these things, as segments within the larger Poets at War show now. They're called operations. There's going to be a new operation that is going to be ending all the episodes that we actually have this operation in, and this new operation is going to be called Brood Tales. And whether I'm reading it or you're reading it yourself, you can submit your short story or chapter or whatever it is outside of, for example, Joel's story would probably end up in Brood Tales. I'm hoping to get to a bigger audience with that for people who are more into the nonfiction or find us through the nonfiction conversations that we have, to really kind of get a feel to people of our fiction who don't listen to the Broodcast and that sort of a thing. And it'll just have a little bit more stuff trickling out, and you have more opportunities to share what you're doing outside of just this huge, big thing. You don't have to set aside 4 hours for a Broodcast, and so that's something that we're going to be doing in the future. If you have any submissions, you can send them to me, joshuadavidling@gmail.com, and I will do my best to fit them in when I can. I will let you know what episode they're going in as soon as I know, and we'll figure that out from there. But I'm only going to probably be doing one per episode unless we start getting tons of submissions. And I'm only going to be putting mine in when I have a completed episode. So what I read tonight was a chapter. An episode is roughly about 10 of those. So it'll be 20 minutes, that kind of a thing. So if it's under 30 minutes, send it in. And we'll tack it on to the end of the show and introduce it and all that kind of stuff. If I need to read it, I will. If you can, it would be much appreciated, because that's just a lot of extra work. But I'll eventually get it to you one way or the other. With all that said, thank you everyone for being here. Be your family's bard. Do not turn to the right or to the left, and the Lord will be with you wherever you go. We'll see you next time in the trenches on Poets at War.
For more episodes of Poets at War, please visit joshuadavidling.com or check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere you get your podcast transmissions. This is Sergeant Ollie, signing out.
God of songs, said the warrior bard, though the world betray thee, one sword at least thy right shall guard one faith.